Waking up. Okay, hello everyone. I am Chris. I'm so happy to be here. Today is our first official day here on the Creative Tavern. My name is Chris. I'm here with Michael. I am a concept designer. I've been working in the theme park industry for over 10 years now, and I've worked with companies such as Walt Disney Imagineering, Universal Studios Creative, and I'm just here alongside with my friend, which I point this way because the camera is always like this way. Yeah, I'm here with my buddy Michael. Say hello, Michael.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Welker. I'm also from the theme park industry, where I've worked as a producer, creative producer. I've been in the industry for about 5 years, most recently in Osaka, Japan, working on Super Nintendo World. I've worked with Chris in the past. In fact, we kind of met through the theme park industry, through other theme park contacts. Um, we were both in Shanghai, worked on Shanghai Disneyland, and most recently Japan. And then after we wrapped up our work on Super Nintendo World, the pandemic happened, of course. And in that time, Chris and I kind of reached out to each other and said, like, hey, I'm not really doing a big project right now. Like, let's do something together. And so we started working on something, and that kind of morphed over time. And we were meeting pretty consistently, about twice a week, to work on this creative project that eventually turned into, hey, let's make a video game. Let's learn how to make a video game, because neither of us have ever done that before. And on top of that, why don't we stream this to YouTube? That way people can watch us make this in real time. Um, Maybe give us some suggestions, some feedback, but mostly to kind of give people a window into the creative process, because that's something that's really important to both of us. And one of the things that we think people don't get taught how to do in school. So that eventually is what became what you're watching right now, the Creative Tavern,
Mm.
uh, our inaugural stream. So welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. And I said this already back in our previous stream, but this channel is I want it to be a place for everyone to be able to share what they are working on. For example, Michael and I are currently working on the rail shooter game. That's not to say that we can't bring other people on and guests on to see what they're doing as well. Because for me, at least as an artist, I want to be able to tell other people what I'm working on, trying to get myself out there. And it's usually kind of rude to be like, go on Michael's channel and be like, hey Michael, check out what I'm working on, but Michael's is doing his thing. It's kind of rude to just jump on his channel and start promoting my stuff, right? That's not great, but I need a place to do that. I want to share my work. So this is a place. I wanted to create a place. We wanted to create a place for everyone to be able to share what their struggles are, what their achievements are, some of the things they are working on. It's just a place to relax and edify one another and just help each other out, because this creative journey is not easy. And what Michael and I are doing, it's while we've been in the theme park industry for a long time, we know what to do there. But this project that we're doing right now, creating a video game, it's a little bit daunting because we never actually done it before. But we are learning, and I'm hoping that what we do can inspire anyone who watches this video and follows along with our journey, that they can be inspired to do the same, to work with someone else, work by themselves. Doesn't matter, as long as you're doing what you're doing day by day, bit by bit, step by step. And I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind when you're on your creative endeavor. It's super, super, super easy to say, suck it, I'm done, I give up. But as long as you have the drive and motivation and just the consistency of driving towards that goal, you'll get there. It's just, it might take a little bit time, but as long as you work hard at it and be, again, consistent, you'll get there. But yeah, so with that said, Michael, let's do a recap of what we talked about last week. And this is the question I always ask you: who wants to go first?
Um, I'm happy to go first, though I'm going to rant for a little while.
Sure,
Could
sure.
take me some
Yeah,
time to get through
perfect.
everything.
Yep.
But what I'll start with is, oh, can you enable screen
Oh, of
sharing?
course.
Um,
I think yep, there you go.
I'll start
Sorry.
with just a general recap for folks to see the project. Um, I need the backup folder. Okay, so I'm gonna hit, is that actually this, did I fix this? I may not have fixed this. Hang on, let me just hit play and see what happens. Oh yeah, great. Okay, fantastic. So, and actually, let me maximize that on play. Play maximized. So that way it's a little bit bigger. That'll read a little bit nicer. So this is the game that Chris and I are making. What you're seeing right here is not intended at all to be in the final product. This is basically just a sandbox where I am going through a Unity 3D online course that teaches you how to make games. One of those games is a project where you make a rail shooter. And so I said, hey, Chris, I'm already learning how to make this type of game in this course. Like, do you want to actually make one together and kind of turn it into something? And Chris said, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. So we started making this and everything that's in here is, like I said, just pieces of the rail shooter puzzle that I have been throwing into the game or into this game. Well, I'm hesitant to call it a game. I guess this file, this,
Mm-hmm.
sandbox,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of try to figure out like, okay, how do I make the plane fly back and forth? How do I get the plane to shoot? How do I add enemies? And how do I have enemies who can animate like, this a little subtle here, but this pit boss, this like giant enemy that we're in front of here is kind of like rotating. It's only doing that because, I've animated it to do that. So that was a way for me to learn how to like, oh, how do I animate a thing and make it spin around like this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in addition to that, getting the enemies to blow up when I shoot them. So you'll see here when I fly past this swarm of enemies, I can actually shoot at them. And programming into the game particle detection. So when the lasers and the enemies, when those two game components touch each other, programming the game to like, okay, here's what happens when that condition is met. Blow up the
Mm-hmm.
enemy game object.
Right.
So anyway, that's basically what this is, what we're looking at right now. This is not the actual end game. This is just a big sandbox for, my learning purposes.
Right. Michael, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but do you mind stopping it and then playing it again? Because right now
Sure.
it feels a little bit choppy. So go ahead and play again. And Dr. Pepper says, "Now that is cool." Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Pepper.
Thank you. Um, yeah, sorry it's a little bit choppy. I think
And that's my
we're
fault.
pretty
I have a really slow internet upload connection, so that is my fault. The what Michael has been doing and what he's showing does not do it. My upload speed does not do it justice because you guys are definitely seeing it a little bit laggy. But use your imaginations and just fill in those
imagine it
missing
buttery
frames.
smooth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine it super buttery smooth. So again, I apologize, Dr. Pepper, and those of you guys who are watching. Oh, it's actually it's running now. Oh, it's running now.
Ooh,
Sweet. It looks good now.
sweet.
It looks good now. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's great. And so, yeah, with that said, I've kind of just been working through this tutorial or through this online course, almost done with the Project Rail Shooter thing. I think I've got another like maybe 6 to 8 lectures to go.
Mm.
So we'll add a couple more things. And where I had left off last time is basically what you're seeing here, where I had figured out I don't even remember what was brand new last session.
It was
Uh,
it was like the feedback, like little sparks when you hit the
oh,
bots,
that's
you
right.
see like
Yeah.
a feedback,
Hmm.
like pew, like a little
Yeah, yeah,
sparks
yeah.
from them. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. So I added that. There's also been like some other under the hood stuff, just like reorganizing things. Um, and yeah, so that's where that is. Now, I could go into where I am now, if that's appropriate, or I can hand the mic back over to you, Chris, if you want to do a recap on your end. What do you think we should do?
Um, why don't you go ahead and continue on? I think that
Okay.
that would be a little bit smoother. Yeah.
So what I did this week, there's one cool thing that I added that I can share. And then I've got a horror story about how I deleted basically everything and had to go dig
Ooh.
around and get a backup file in order to just to show you what you're seeing on screen right now. That's why up here in the top it says, level 01 GDTV3 backup,
Mm.
because this is a recovered file. Because the one that I was using, I swear that I did things that any normal person who's ever used a computer before would do, but Unity doesn't play that way. It does some real funky things that I'm going to share with you
Mm.
in a bit to kind of like explain what went horribly wrong. But to show you the new thing that I added, I'm going to do a new screen share and share with you this. Actually, hang on, let me set this up a little bit so I don't ruin the surprise. Uh,
Oh man, this is gonna be cool. Chat, I haven't seen any of Michael's update yet, so I'm very curious as well. This is cool.
oh yeah, there we go. Okay, great. So new share. This one share. Okay, so let me adjust this window a little bit so I can get to these controls. Okay, so I had to recreate this level, which is why it's flying faster and some of the things aren't moving. Oh, that's interesting.
That's a trap.
Well, okay,
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's
so
awesome.
yes,
Oh, that's cool.
character dialogue with text box, though the text isn't lining up, so I must have messed that up.
Slack
But anyway,
bar.
that's
That's
the
awesome.
fancy new thing that got added this week was like, oh, hey, I figured out how to add dialogue. Um, and yeah, you'll notice it's Admiral Slack bar so as
That's
not to
cool.
be
Sure,
copyright infringement.
sure.
I'm
Yep.
really curious. I wonder why those pieces are, oh, maybe because I did that. Let's see if if that fixed it. Um, Probably not. I bet yeah, it's still going to be okay. So apparently I've got more to learn about getting the text to stay inside of its uh box panel here.
Sure, sure, sure. That
But
that can be fixed later. I'm just happy to
yeah,
see that. That is so cool.
so yeah, that's the thing, and that gets added into like a timeline. See one timeline here. So I've got these tracks in here where see it looks fine there. Oh, maybe it must be the ratio of the screen size when I maximized it, and it's not tracking properly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But anyway, so like in the timeline, I can drag in this little picture of this little avatar, which actually isn't Admiral Akbar. It's actually I got this from the course that I'm taking, and the guy basically just found a picture of a goldfish and kind of
Uh-huh.
photoshopped it,
Yeah.
and so it actually that's pretty good and looks
That's not
like
bad.
looks like an actual Mon Calamari
Yeah.
character.
That's not bad.
Um, so anyway, that was the big victory. Not a whole lot, and I was hoping to get a lot more done, but I couldn't because
Sure. Hmm.
of this really unfortunate thing that happened. So the unfortunate thing that happened, here's the story on that. When we left our last session, the plan was because in the last session we did like our brainstorm about, okay, let's now that we've got most of the pieces together for, in fact, I'm going to, while I'm yapping, I'll switch back to this and get the game playing. That way you've got something more interesting to look at rather than just static. In our last session, we were like, okay, we've got most of the game pieces here. We've got a ship that can fly around. We've got the 4 types of enemies that we were planning to make. We've got a score counter. The rail system is in place. Basically, the game's basically ready to be played as long as you can just build a level around it. So we
Hmm.
said, okay, well, let's actually get to building that level. Which, by the way, another part of the recap is Chris and I are working on like making a video game, but currently the plan isn't to make a full video game. We have a short-term goal, which is just to make one completely playable, polished level, just one. And the idea behind that is the same idea behind what in the software world or in the video game world is often referred to as an MVP, which is a minimum viable product. It's really just a way to prove to create like a proof of concept of here is what this thing could be. Here's all the all the pieces working in a sort of like a slice of life, like just a little chunk of like what this thing could be. And if we're happy with it and we like what, where we're going, then we can devote the time and energy and resources and all that jazz to complete the rest of it, to like take that one level and then build on it and make like another 14 levels and have
Mhm.
like a 15 level complete game. We're not worrying about that right now. Right now, we're just trying to make a single level. And I think this is a really important thing to keep in mind for anybody who's working on a creative project. Um, it's that old saying about, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. I think it's also important to, start with the smaller elephant if you can, because if you can create some parameters to like limit the scope, limit what you're biting off at first, it makes it a lot easier to see the finish line, to not get so discouraged by like, oh my God, this thing's so huge. It's going to take years to do. Like, we're never going to finish. If you can reduce down to a small enough piece that is reasonable and hold yourself to it, and not like, keep dragging it in, but get to a point where you can limit your scope enough to say like, okay, yeah, that's reasonable. We can do that. And once we can get to that point, then we can make a decision about, do we keep going? So regardless of what kind of project you're working on, if it is seeming a little too big and ambitious, that's a trick that you can use, is to, limit work in progress, limit the
Yeah.
scope, try to take on a smaller, like bite-sized piece. So anyway, in our last session, we were basically ready to start rough mapping out what that first level was going to be like. And so we came up with 5 different scenes, which is something that is very typical in the theme park industry when making a theme park attraction, or making a ride or something, is to break that up into scenes. And so we came up with 5 scenes, and we were going to go away. My homework was to work on the first 2 scenes. Chris was going to work on scenes 3 and 4, and then we were saving scene 5 to work on later. Um, and the first 2 scenes were basically going to be the ship is going to arrive into an asteroid field, be like, hey, we think we picked up a distress signal from this area. We're not really sure what's going on. We need to go check it out. Get to the asteroid field. It's, players just kind of learning how to fly the ship and avoid the asteroids. And then all of a sudden, one of these T drones appears. It's like, oh, wow, there's actually an enemy here. Then a space battle ensues where you're kind of like defending your ships from these attackers. Then it becomes clear that because you were now at this location, you realize, oh, these people that, or these drones that were attacking were actually jamming the distress signal of this local colony, this local mining colony. So let's go help them because they're under attack now. So then scene 3 and 4 is you going in, or scene 3 is you helping the colony. And then scene 4 is defending their mining operation, because you find out that that's why the drones are attacking, is they're attacking these people to get to their mining operation to steal the resources. And then scene 5 is actually a battle with this guy, the boss that you're seeing on screen right now, the giant pit boss. So is the pretty simple homework assignment was just to do a rough sketch of sorts, like a napkin sketch of what is this scene going to be like when the player is flying around.
Mm.
I'll show you what I have since I've already teed it up, and it's not
Great
much.
recap,
And
by the
I'll,
way. Thank you for
oh,
giving that recap.
sure.
That's awesome.
And it's not much because of the thing that I've been alluding to, but I will show you, I'll explain that and show you that as well. So if
That's
I
tough.
go into here and go to P scene 1, sure, go ahead and save. And
Oh, cool.
next. I think this Admiral Slackbar, he might be, yeah, he's just going to stay there. Actually,
Oh,
let me
nice.
see if I can get rid of him for us so that way we don't have to stare at him. Canvas, Slackbar. There we go.
Cool.
So yeah, here's the opening sequence. We're kind of like flying out of the hangar bay of our ship. Um,
Nice.
I've run into some problems with that because I kept wanting the ship to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And I made it so big that it actually doesn't load in the whole ship.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
at a distance, you can see, or
Yeah,
it might be a little hard to see, but you can see some of the ship is materializing in the
sure.
distance because
Sure,
I made
sure.
it so big.
I'm with you
Um,
right there. I'm experiencing the same issue in Blender because as I create something, I realized this doesn't feel big enough. I don't know if it's the
Mm-hmm.
camera focal point that's weird, or I started to make things bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just got out of control. I'll share with you what I went through as well. But I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go on.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
so cool.
That's very reassuring to hear because yeah, I think it has something to do with it being in space because the terrestrial level that I made,
Uh-huh.
I did not have this problem. And another thing you'll notice is like when I shoot the lasers, you see how like they're like flying behind me? It's because the ship is flying so fast that it's actually outrunning the speed of the laser projectiles. I think that's where that ends. Yeah, so I can replay this
Huh.
again for us. Oh, it may have crashed. Yeah, I think it crashed.
Okay, no
Um,
worries.
the point, though, is that I think because of the way our brain is perceiving space,
Right.
uh, that's what's causing. Or so let me stop share. I need to do a force quit to get rid of that thing that's not working, and then I'll reopen it and I'll play it again for you guys.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's because it's space, things seem small and you can't get a sense of like movement without making things really freaking huge and going really fast over them.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to share with you what I went through too, because I totally understand what you're talking about, and maybe you can help me out with my sanity, because I when I started doing it, I'm like, wait a second, why I made this big already? Why doesn't it feel big enough? This is out of control now. It's like, holy cow.
Okay, what is, oh, that's what
I'll
that's
let you
doing.
guys know what I'm talking
Oh,
about. Yeah.
that's handy. Play maximized. Yeah, so yeah, I think you're probably experiencing a similar thing that I experienced. Yeah,
This
it's
is cool. This is
frustrating.
cool.
But anyway, so what my plan was to originally like to have, your ship kind of fly out here and then you're going to see asteroids out there. But before we do that, I wanted to also give you a sense of like, oh, here's the fleet that I'm with. So,
Right.
kind of fly around, do a quick little check of, your mothership.
Yeah.
Um, and it maybe have a couple of your other ships flying around
With you.
with you.
Yep. Hmm.
And then you would fly out into the asteroid field, discover the drones, have a little bit of a battle, and then you would come back here to have like an actual battle. So you have this sort of
Yeah.
like little bookend kind of thing
Sure.
where you start there, but everything's nice and calm and quiet and fine. And then on the back end, maybe you come back and this thing's on fire and it's under attack.
Right.
Oh shit. So yeah, that was kind of the general idea. I didn't get like I don't feel like this is a very like this isn't a lot of homework to have after 4 days worth of work, but obviously because of the thing that I ran
Right,
into,
right. But no, this is great. Even if you didn't tell me you had any issue, I would say this is an awesome, awesome start, dude. I mean, I'm getting the
thanks.
whole sense of like scene one, and we are getting to know
Yeah.
our ship, and we're getting to know the mothership, and I and our fighter plane looks great in this scene.
Yeah. So I had a couple of different models in here that I tried. And in fact, I can share with you a couple of these things. It's under packages. No, it's under prefabs and vehicles. So I tried a couple different things. Like this guy, I originally started with this one, who was like,
Hmm.
let me zoom in here. It was like an aircraft carrier kind of a thing.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Let me do
Man,
that,
these
and
are
then I
really
can
cool.
spin around it. Yeah, and this was really neat. I had the ship kind of like taking off from here and kind of flying down the deck, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Um, but it wasn't as cool as flying out of that like that
Launch
the
tube.
internal hangar. This thing, I think this is like some kind of component that goes on top of this one, I guess.
Oh,
So you could
interesting.
like modify this ship.
Yeah.
There was one other ship in here. Oh yeah, that's that one. Oh, yeah, this was the one that I had in here like last time when we were
Hmm.
just kind of
Hmm.
messing around with things. But I wasn't quite as happy with that one. I was much happier with this one, which I think is called like the Colossus or something. So I was like, I'm gonna go with that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But I did try a couple of different things. And let's see. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Michael. Really
Yeah.
quick, Dr. Pepper says, not sure if you didn't know or not, but you can change object size to feet in Blender. It will still look small because of the camera. Yep, that's one thing that I discovered. When I started changing the f-stop on the camera, then
Oh.
then things started to look a little bit closer.
Oh.
But still I had the issue. But yes, that's one of the things that definitely helped. It was changing the camera, the f-stop on the camera. So yes,
Mm,
absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Pepper. Sorry, Michael.
yeah,
Sorry to
thanks.
interrupt.
No, no,
Yep.
no, that's great. That's good to know. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
I'm pretty sure you can't change unit size in Unity. Everything is just Unity units.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like one Unity unit is, the size of like a default cube size, like a
Hmm. Hmm.
default cube, and Unity is a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. And then
Right.
everything's kind of like built around that. And then
Yeah.
you just arbitrarily decide like, oh, that's meters or that's, centimeters or feet
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
But the camera field of view, like that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that because there's probably because I don't really know a whole lot about the Unity camera, just how to like attach it to a
Hmm. Hmm.
ship so that way when the ship's flying around, it follows the ship.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so that's basically my update for where I am. I'm going to continue kind of like working on this, and especially now that I've figured out I've resolved some of the problems. Before I get into that, do you want to switch? Would you like me to continue and actually go through that, or do we want to switch back to you, Chris, so we can get your update and maybe?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah. Sounds good.
then let me stop sharing, and we'll save my horror story for a little bit later.
Yeah, all right. So let me go ahead and share scene three. Okay, so this is what we talked about last week. We basically broke
Mm-hmm.
our level down into 5 different scenes. It's scene one is the asteroid field slash the tutorial. Scene two is where we defend the carrier. Scene three is where we defend the colony, and scene four we assault. We execute an assault on the mining operation of the bad guys, basically. And then the scene five is showdown with the pit boss. And one thing I was thinking about story wise,
Mm-hmm.
I want to, what's the word? I would like to see what you think about that. We don't kill the pit boss. The boss never dies. It retreats. And then so in order for
Mm-hmm.
you to kind of kill it, you would have to play the next level. And the next level
Yeah.
is obviously the game that we haven't yet designed. So it's like a to be continued, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
just something that I'm just thinking about. It's not a big deal.
No, no, no. I think it is a big deal.
Yeah.
I think that's a yeah,
Yeah,
great idea, and we'll
it's
do
it's
that.
it's like, oh, this is the pit boss is like, oh my gosh, he's at critical mass. We're gonna one more last shot, and then all of a sudden it does like a hyper speed, but it speeds away, and it's like, oh
Yeah,
no, it's
he
gone
got
now.
away.
Yeah, I got away. We have to play the next level, you know. All right. And
If
so
Chris and
yes,
Michael ever make it.
I know. Okay, so this is scene one and two. You did that. That's freaking awesome. And so what today I'm going to show you is scene three. I thought I did a little quick sketch of scene four, but I didn't get
Okay.
to model it or anything. But yeah, today I'll be showing you scene three. However, before I show you scene three, I want to show you the whole concept behind the idea of the scene. Is that after you're done with scene one and then scene two, we are
Mm-hmm.
going to kind of defend the colony, right? And then so
Mm-hmm.
let's just say, why is this? Sorry, I'm having issues. Issues. Why is this low opacity? Oh, this is so
I
weird.
don't
Hold
know.
on. Sorry. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. That's nice
Yeah,
and
there you
clear.
go. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so this is our mothership, right? And then this is basically scene one. We're like flying around it, right? And then scene two, we're
Mm-hmm.
actually fighting against the bots, right? And then scene three is so this is my proposal of scene three. Instead of just going to one colony, um, we actually okay. So the colonies are basically on various asteroids.
Hmm.
So here's one asteroid, here's one asteroid, here's one asteroid, here's one asteroid, and then each asteroid has kind of a mining colony that's a friendly mining colony, right? Yay, I am mining stuff, right? And then here's another one, and then here's another one, right? And then we have the bad guys, and then it's shooting the rah, it's shooting and
The
attacking each
colonists.
the colonists, right? It's like rah, and then XYZ. Yeah, and same on and so forth, right? And then what we have to do is after this ends, we basically we have to fly through each colony, and and within each asteroid, this is something you and I will figure it out. We'll feel it out as to how many bad guys it needs to be there, but we
Hmm.
basically just go from scene one and two, and then it goes to scene three, and just kind of travel through each each asteroid,
Yeah.
right? So that is kind of my proposal, and so that is scene. Actually, that's not even that's only half of scene three, all right? And then this is scene 3A, all right, and this is 3B. 3B is when we actually see more of a bigger, gigantic mining compound, right? Um, do you remember watching a video or a video game or a movie where here's an asteroid and here's an asteroid, and then in the middle of an asteroid is like this colony base, right? Um, do you remember seeing anything like that in the movies ever? It's basically like two huge
No.
asteroids, and then you have this um, mining city that's like connecting two asteroids. In my mind, I think that's
Hmm.
like super super cool. And then so after
Yeah.
we're done saving these little uh guys in scene 3A, and I have a feeling, Michael, you're gonna tell me that 3B is actually scene four. But maybe it might come to that. But I actually have something else in mind for scene four. But this might be scene four.
Okay.
Who knows? This, I mean, we're still working it out, right? And then so after we defeated or liberated these tiny little comets, we fly into this little space right here, and then in here we're able to like fly through these like little corridors and little tubing thingies when and then basically destroy all the bad guys that are in here, right? So
Hmm.
that is kind of my vision of scene 3A slash B, and maybe it's scene four, right? And then so scene four is where we kind of do an assault on the bad guys, right? And then so in my mind, scene four and five is kind of connected. And let me just show you really quick. So this is our bad guy, right? This is our the mini boss with his
Hmm.
little things right here, right? And then is like this, rah, fear me, motherfuckers. Ah, yeah. Okay. And then we have three big major compounds, like little, it's not planets, it's still asteroids, right? And then we have friendly buildings here, friendly buildings here, friendly buildings here, right? And then, bu- 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 and then we, scene four is to liberate these colonies. Okay, I'm getting confused myself. I apologize. So we have to fly through each one, and then basically there's like they've kind of established the bad guys have this taken over the little comet mining corporations, and then we basically the good guys are us. We are here. We have to basically fly through and then fly through here and then destroy. It's very kind of similar to scene three, um, but there's no but. It's very, very similar to scene three. However, let me just keep going on. Right, scene four, we basically go through and liberate each of these big colonies, and and then scene five is when we want to attack these guys. Right. However, the bad guy has kind of like an invisible shield, is because the mothership is actually he has cords, kind of like huge cords attached to kind of like the power generators. Think of the like in order to take down the Death Star, you have to take down the generators in what's that planet called? Uh, what planet is
Endor?
the Endor? Thank you. It's like the second moon of Endor. We have to take down the bad guys' shield generators. In order to get through the thing, we have to take down the shield generators. Yeah. And then after we destroy the generators, the the shield goes down, and then we begin scene 5, our assault on the big mini boss. And then once his power almost gets down to like critical mass, like, oh, he's about to die, and then he disappears. And then it's like, oh no, we accomplished the mission, but he's still out there somewhere, right? So that is kind of like it's kind of all over the place, and which is why I kind of wanted to run it by you because there is something there. There is something there that we have. Oops, this is my own sketch. Like, oh, this is the bad guy right here. He's kind of sucking the power from these three big resource areas, and then
Hmm.
it's basically powering the ship right here. And then we have to like destroy these guys, and then cut the cord off, and then disable a shield, and then we start attacking it. Um, and this is my sketch for scene 3. Oh, okay. Yeah, so basically it's like little tiny little comets, or not comets, asteroids that the mining company is, mining all the stuff. And then, the red dots are like the bad guys. So basically we fly in and out, and then we go to this big type of mining thing. And I'll show you in the 3D model. So I want to share this with you now before I get into the model, because in the model, I'm going to be battling with Blender because there's just a lot of objects in there, and I by myself I get lost. So if I take you guys on the journey, I'm gonna get you guys lost too. So it's good to just show you where my head is at first before I share you everything. All right.
Sure.
So with that said, let me open up Blender, and I guess really quickly, I want to share with you guys what we did last week, which was
Sure.
nothing, but I just want to share with the viewers here um, the environment that I created. And I apologize, it's taking a little bit. Yeah, and Dr. Pepper says kind of like compounds you have to liberate. Yes, exactly. And he also says that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. That's a good idea too. But thank you so much. I appreciate your your agreement. And man, this is taking a while. Oh yay. Okay,
Oh,
finally.
there it goes.
Yay. All right. So, and I don't want to turn up the big thing that's right here, Michael. I'll share it with you
Okay.
later. Um, but basically, Michael and I have been creating like this spaceship environment. And ooh, hold on, why is it not working? Wow, my computer's chugging like crazy. Oh, there you go. There's the thing. Let me push N. Can you guys see that? Okay. All right, good. There you go. So I'm just gonna fly through the space really quick. And right in the center is our big bad boss. And then this is the T pose guys that you guys saw in Michael's Unity. And then we also have this guy right here. He's kind of like our missile, heavy duty missile guy. And then this guy right here is kind of like a laser guy. So currently we have three main robots that drones. You Michael, you said drones last week, and I think it's a good word to say to give them. They're basically drones, drone ships. Yeah. And then this is our big bad baddie. And don't worry about that. That's nothing. And then so I created this thing where you can just fly through it, something like that, and then fly through something like this, and then something like that. And then I've also created this little spaceship station kind of stationary object that was very much inspired by Halo, a video that Michael sent me. And I've also created these very generic shapes, like futuristic shapes that will go on to various buildings and such. So I'm going to stop this one right here. I'm going to go ahead and close that one. And then I'm going to open up this mofo. So I want to share with you the top view first in orthographic view so that you can actually see what is going on. Uh, Michael, pretend that this is the mothership that you were working on. This is the ship that you showed us. It's
Okay.
not, obviously, but for continuity purposes, let's just say that this is the ship so that you're basically flying around, right? And then in scene
Okay.
three, you will be flying towards these little cluster of colonies that has been attacked by bad guys, right? And then later, this big piece right here is kind of like the big it's the mining corporation's headquarters, if you will, and that is the in scene three where we have to kind of defend and get rid of all the bots that's flying around. And then so let me go into this mode and let me go into that mode. Oh, actually, before I do that, before I confuse the crap out of myself, which I will do, this right here is the kind of like the path in my mind that we're taking from here. We're just kind of going from one space to another space to another space, and then to another space, and then finally we go into this space right here. So, um, and I wanted to show this to you because when I'm flying through here in first person, once I get here, I get super lost. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to go this way or am I supposed to go that way? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But because it's a rail, we'll program it later. It'll automatically go to the exact direction where we want to go. But when I'm flying through this, Michael, I'm like, where the fuck am I? So I wanted to share this with you as an overview before I dive in and be all confused and shit. Um, and remember that remember this big planet that was in the other scene. There was like a huge moon.
Oh yeah.
So this is the size of the moon, and I apologize, guys. Currently, it's still loading into the EV mode. Oh, there it is. So this was the moon that was in the other scene, right? Notice how big I had to make all the freaking asteroids. It's like almost the size of that moon, just to make things feel big and feel massive and feel right. All right. Dr. Pepper says, biggest plot twist of all time. You work for the people actually trying to take over using the mines for yourselves. Big cliffhanger for the next game, maybe? Yeah, that's actually pretty
Nice.
good. That's awesome. Thanks for that, Dr. Pepper.
Thanks for saving us. Now
Yeah.
we're taking your shit.
Yep. Okay, so let me do this. All right. So this is, ooh, all right. Before I get super confused, I would like to find, sorry guys, camera. All right, so that's there. Okay, I'm gonna move this here as a starting point. All right, hold on. All right, there you go. Go up. So this is the same ship that Michael was using. Um, Obviously, this big, gigantic geometry right here is a placeholder for our mothership later. And then so here we go. Actually, hold on. Let me oops. There you go. All right. Here we go. Let's fly through the environment and see how it feels. All right, we're launching. We're pretend we're launching out of the tube. Here we go. This is our first thing. Or what? Wait, hold on. Sorry. Where's the hell's the path? Oh, there it is. Notice I'm getting all confused and shit right now. Ugh.
No worries, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to find the. Oh, here you go. All right. There's kind of a invisible path that the asteroids kind of create.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basically trying to follow the through the asteroids, and and if I click on this, you'll see that this is basically kind of like a donut or a torus shape. And within the torus shape, very much like how I created the particle system on top of the planet, Michael, I created a torus and then I just kind of, instead of like putting one bot after, like trying to put, a whole bunch of different bots in there, I just created a shape, like told Blender, like, I want you to put 2,000 bots on this in this volume and then just spread it around. I don't care right
Cool.
now, just make it random. I doesn't matter. We'll make it nice and sexy later. But for now, just to kind of get a feel for it, that's what I did. So that's how I more or less populated the space right now. And so if you look at this, why is it this not moving? Oh, okay, now. Wow, it's totally chugging. So this is kind of like the first sector, if you will, that we have to liberate, and then we're basically like, oh yeah, we're like flying into the space right now. We can either, fly through the buildings, across the buildings, and or fly through all the robots. And, you know, again, this is something that you and I have to go through and place each one individually to make it look nice, feel nice and good. But again, to save a little bit of time and just to get the idea across,
Sure.
we're just, populating the space right now with like a whole bunch of robots. And so this is kind of like the first uh, colony, sector colony that we have to go through. And one note, I love the fact that we get to see like a whole bunch of other stuff out here while we're, flying around this area. It just shows like the
Totally.
density of all the things that's going on. And we could just fly through here. We could set a path. I didn't put any enemies in here. Just imagine there's like a whole bunch of enemies we have to shoot at. And then we're flying. All right, now we're done. We're done. Now next we have to fly to this sector and put on our boost speed, and then we slow down. And then basically it's the same thing. We fly through here and then we attack, we attack, we attack, and then same thing. We just keep doing the same thing. And then we fly after we're done with that one. I think we fly to this one. We fight, 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 fight. All right, good. This is the last one. We fight, 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 and then this is kind of like, all right, this is our the last kind of like the main colony, the main HQ of the mining corp that we need to liberate. And just imagine like a whole bunch of like bad guys in here. And this is obviously what I did was I took one of that structure, that long T structure from the structure that inspired me from Halo. I just took it, duplicated, stretched it, and then multiplied it, flipped it, and kind of created this little, structure that is kind of like harvesting three different orb mi mi mining asteroids, and then so we'll be able to like fly through and inside, outside, um, and then fly across. There's just like a whole bunch of stuff we could do. I mean, even this is like really cool. Yeah. Ah, that's so cool. So yeah, that's basically it for scene 3. And scene 4, I was hoping to, and obviously I didn't get a chance, but I was hoping to design um, scene 4 where we actually go inside of the shield generator. Hold on, let me open this up. Ba, 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 where we go inside these um, this shield generator building, right? In order to blow it up and then maybe we just do it once, maybe we do it 3 times. But basically, we have to destroy this in order to kill the shields for these for the big bad guy. And in this scene, I'm hoping that this is the going inside the Death Star interior. That's the interior scene where we fly through like very tight corridors. We got to like make sure we don't hit objects like you know uh that's the more interior scene, and that's why I kept scene 3 everything on the outside, and scene 4 is when we actually go inside and destroy the mechanism that is generating power, that's sucking the power to the main boss. So sorry, Michael, I didn't give you a chance to talk at all. What are your thoughts?
Um, a lot of thoughts, but the first one is, I mean, good job, man. Like the amount of work that you've done since we last talked is really impressive, and some of these ideas are really super cool. Um, I particularly like what you've done with scene 3, like this idea of having that giant, uh, the sort of like those 3 different asteroids that are connected by the sort of bridge city unit.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
really awesome. I like that even better than the sandwich city thing that we were talking about before. I think there's a lot of potential there. The the like 3 different, because in I think it was 3. There were like 3 different sort of like medium-sized city asteroids that you fly to like, clear out the area. Story-wise, like I think that's really cool. And what we can do too here is um, potentially in in order to prevent it from being like, copy paste, like, oh, clear out this asteroid, now clear out this one, now clear out this
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
We could do like clear out this asteroid and it's just T drones.
Hmm.
Clear out this asteroid. Oh wow, now there's a new drone that's like the missile drone. Maybe that's where we introduce those. And
Sure.
then when you get to the third one, then it's like, oh, now it's T drones, missile drones, and there's this crazy laser drone thing.
Right.
So you're kind of like each step of the way, we're increasing the difficulty and also spicing it up with like new things that are happening.
Right.
Um, so that's all really cool. I like, yeah, like I really like what you've done with this scene idea compared to like what we had before. The only worry that I have overall, and it's maybe potentially like an unfounded worry because the idea, like it's staying on theme with the level,
Hmm.
is that some of so like starting the level where you're kind of like in this asteroid field and you're kind of like flying around uh, in scene 1, and then you're kind of like within the asteroid field, protecting the ship. And then scene 3 is like more asteroid field stuff where you're kind of like flying in between the different asteroids. And then even scene 4 is like more asteroids. Um, because my original thought when we were talking last week or last time was scene 1 and 2 would kind of be like in the asteroid field proper. Scene
Hmm.
3 would be much closer to uh, being like on a planet where there's this big environment that is kind of like a Coruscant or like a city or something like that, right? And then
Mm.
scene 4 and 5 would actually be taking place on an asteroid that was so big it might as well be a planet as far as the player is concerned. But with this direction, you're kind of in space in asteroids the whole time,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
which maybe is okay. Uh, I am a little worried though that it would be maybe a little too samey
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
start
Hmm.
to finish, but it's probably okay, especially if this is going to be like one level in a series of levels. This could be the asteroid levels where everything is kind of themed around like you're going to these different components of the asteroids. Um, so yeah, so that was the only like real worry I have. Otherwise, everything that you've done and all the ideas I think are awesome. Like, and this thing looks so cool, and being able to like see that in the background while you're doing, the missions on the like the little outlying asteroids and kind of building up to it and inching your way closer is really cool. And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
being able to like, dive bomb through the towers and stuff is, man, that's going to be so awesome. So I really love that. And then for scene 4 with the boss, um, the
Scene
ideas
5.
that you've sketched out, or yes, scene
Yeah.
5.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute, because this is scene 3.
Yeah, this is scene 3.
scene 4 is with the asteroids and the boss is in the middle, right? But you're not fighting the boss yet. You're
Y-
taking out the power
The each
stations.
yeah, power stations around the boss.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. I like the idea of going inside those asteroids instead
Asteroids.
of flying on the outside. Like that's
Right.
a neat twist there. Um, and yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
I agree with you. So, one, two, because you already have one and two as kind of like the space scenes. Yeah, maybe in scene three we don't fly, we don't have too many. Instead of traveling from, bu- 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 instead of traveling from one to the other, maybe we just stay really, really close to uh the city, if you will. Like just it's within. Why is it doing this? Sorry. There you go. Maybe instead of like trying to fly from one asteroid to another, we just remain scene three. We just remain in around the asteroid. Like we just spend all our time in the city here, so that it doesn't feel like,
Mm,
oh, okay, now we just got to go to another asteroid. Oh shit, too fast. We don't have to keep going through asteroid to asteroid. We just keep our plane in this area right here on the surface of this asteroid.
mm. Yeah, yeah, we could certainly do that and then like recapture, what we were talking about last time.
Right.
But I don't think we have to do that. Like I think what you have is interesting. And so the only other thing that I'm thinking is I feel like maybe the scope of what we're trying to do maybe have grown and might be
Yep.
more difficult. So what we could do is maybe just squeeze in the ends and kind of like I really like what you've done with scene 3 so much so that I think maybe that becomes the focal point and we try to get the other pieces to work around it. So on the front end, maybe we omit part or maybe we combine scene 1 and 2 into kind of like just one thing
Mhm.
where you
Mhm.
are in this asteroid field and then you're kind of like defending your ship and then kind of reorienting and being like, oh, look, here's the colony and they're under attack. Like now let's go help them. So kind of reduce the scope there. The the mining operation piece of it, instead of like flying from here and then going to another location, which is almost the same thing, which is
Mhm.
like asteroids with these sort of building installations on them. Maybe the boss appears on the larger asteroid. So like that city installation with the trifecta asteroid.
Mhm.
Maybe when you get there, that's our scene 4. Um, Kind of like what you had anticipated might be the case earlier when you were like sketching out.
Yeah.
Because once you go there, then it's it should be different than what you were doing on the 3 little asteroids ahead of time. And so maybe when you get there, you're like trying to maybe they don't know. They're like, something is like sucking up all our power.
Yeah.
We need to get in there and see what's going on. Or maybe you even get a flyby where you can see like, oh man, there's a big one of these things up at the top of this rock here. It seems to be drawing all of its energy for its shield from the shield generators. So then you have to go and take those out and then come back and fight it. And so maybe we can just fight this thing here on the station as opposed to flying to a new location. And I think that could fit story wise, and also would be um, a great way for us to shave off having to design a whole bunch more content uh,
Right.
for the finale. What do you think about all that?
I think that makes sense. Like, I'm currently putting the mini boss in this area right now, is so that maybe, I mean, all this right here is
Hmm.
scene three, or less of it, right? Is scene three, and then wait, I'm
That
getting
becomes
confused.
scene 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, thank you. You know my mind better than I do. So scene four is we actually dive into one of these bigger asteroids, and it becomes kind of more of an interior
Mm,
scene. and then we have to destroy one, and then fly to another two, and then another three, and then all the generator is powered down, and then we could start killing this guy.
Um, yes, the one. So the one like thematic note that I would have is I don't want us to see the boss until it's time to fight the boss. So we could either, if the boss is like
Oh,
this
sure.
big and is
Hmm.
in that location, maybe she's got some kind of cloaking device or something that doesn't get breached until we get to that area. Or she doesn't necessarily have to be that big. We could make her maybe like a third that size and put her on the top rock, or maybe there's like a big crater up there that she's dug into and she's like mining out shit from there, or she's jacked into their energy system up there. So it's not until the player flies up to the top rock and goes down into the crater that they realize, like, oh, this is the thing that's stealing all your power and is, controlling all the other drones. Like, oh, okay, here's your problem right here.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then we can, from there, maybe start trying to attack it. And then our teammates are like, shields are too strong. Like, I think we got to figure out where she's getting power from. If we knock that out, then we can drop her shields. Then you can fly and go to the interiors of those other pieces and blow up the generators, much to the colonists' dismay, I'm sure. Like, no, don't blow that. We got to do it. It's for your own good. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Let me just try to wrap my head around. So, it's your desire that we don't see the bad guy, the big bad mini boss, at all until it's ready to be hit.
Mm, Let me put it this way. When you're flying around and doing the work in scenes, basically 1 through 3,
Uh-huh.
you shouldn't see that character. It
Got
shouldn't
it.
be until you get to, like, okay, the main the outlying colony asteroids are safe. Now let's go see what's going on at this big main station.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That at some point after that would be the reveal of the boss. You shouldn't,
Got it.
because like one of the things that was so cool when you were flying around is that you kept getting like little glimpses of the big
Right.
station in the back. I
Right.
don't want us to see the boss there yet. I
Right.
want that to
Right.
be a surprise moment.
Right. I think I totally agree with you. Yes, I think that's a great idea. Yep. 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 And then
Okay.
when the boss does show up, it's like, oh, there it is. And then, Alpha Squadron, go attack. Oh shit, Alpha Squadron got destroyed because there's a shield generator that's like we can't penetrate it. Well, I guess we gotta, try to find where the shield generators are, and then we gotta destroy that in order to take down the shield. And then once the shield is down, then we can go in and destroy the
Yeah.
bad guy, right?
So that's really cool because story-wise, what we could do is, like, let's say that like up here, I don't know if you can see in
Yep.
Zoom,
Yep.
I'm
Mhm.
drawing.
Mhm.
So like maybe there's like a little crater in here, like
Mhm.
this. And the boss is going to be like hiding in there. And
That's cool.
once we are like flying around down here doing our thing, they're like, all right, now let's go see what's going on up at the station. So then we're flying around over here and kind of like working our way around, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Alpha Squadron goes up here. So we'll do Alpha Squadron. And then while they're up there and we're down here doing our thing, that's when the message comes in, like they're just screaming and like, oh God,
Ah!
and their signal's getting cut out. So then
Yeah.
Admiral Slackbar is like, get up there and see what's going on. So then we're gonna, fly up through here, get ourselves back up here. And then when we creep over that ridge, that's when we see her and we're like,
Right.
oh, that's what killed everybody. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And then we have to figure out how to defeat her. And then that's when
Right.
the shield thing happens. And we're like, okay, now everybody, we need to go. Maybe we're flying. There's like a hole or a
Mhm.
tunnel or
Mhm.
something in
Mhm.
here. You fly in here to blow up
Mhm.
generator 1. Then you come down here, fly inside another hole here to blow up generator 2. And then back to where we started to get 3. And then you
Mhm.
fly all the way
Mhm.
back up here to fight her. I don't know. That seems like a little roundabout, but or maybe that happens and then that dislodges her and then she comes down here to fight you.
Sure. Yeah.
because then she's like pissed, and maybe she
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
comes into the like text dialogue. It's like, you shouldn't have done that.
Yep, yep. I
Um,
like that. I like that a lot. That's very, very cool. Poor Alpha Squadron, but your sacrifice will not go
in vain.
in vain. Yeah, yeah.
We got to name one of them Porkins or something Porkins related.
Porky.
'Cause I always, yeah, it was always so tragic to me seeing Porkins get blown up, and
Yeah,
I think it's either A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. It's like, oh
yeah.
no,
I can't remember.
poor Porkins. It's like in that flaming cockpit.
Yeah.
Anyway, great work though, Chris. Like this is amazing. Oh, did you have stuff for scene 5 as well, or
No,
4
no.
as
I
well?
didn't. I didn't have
Okay.
anything for four. This was kind of a starting point for three, and then I was gonna do one for four. But after our review today, I like where our direction is headed towards, so that I don't do
Yeah.
extra work. But yeah, this is great. This is great. I have stuff to
Yeah, this is
work off
really
of.
great, man. Yeah, what you've done here is so impressive that I think we already have like the big finale set piece. Like we don't need scenes 4 and 5. We can just steal the story components from those and put them in here
Mm.
because that asteroid thing with the like connected city tunnel thing, that's
Hmm.
really cool. Like I love that thing. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's a movie out there or video game out there somewhere that connects two huge rocks together, and I
Hmm.
can't remember what it was. It Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica or something. And Dr. Pepper says you can make it where the eye is shut, where she's busy mining, and when you go inside the meters and
Mm.
destroy the generator, she wakes up, ah, and then tries to stop you by sending more bots or something. And then when you've blown all three, that's when the fight starts. So it's like when she's hiding in plain
Oh,
sight. I think that's pretty cool. It will
that is
just look
cool.
like a big machine sifting mining material. That's pretty cool. That's great.
Yeah, that's a neat idea.
That's a really good idea. I'm gonna
Yeah, make a note.
I'm gonna make a note. Boop. Thank you, Dr. Pepper. And paste. And noted. Thank you so much. That's really good. Yeah, totally. That's awesome. We will give you credit on our credits list when the game is over and when it's scrolling. These are the people who contributed, Dr. Pepper. Yeah. If you're okay with that, obviously. Hopefully you're okay with that. But yeah, this is great, and thank you for your feedback, Michael, and thank you, Dr. Pepper, for your good notes as well, man. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, awesome work, Chris. Like this is really impressive.
yeah. You have
This looks
like
great.
again, like I'm always going to be complaining, like just trying to get what I want, like my will be done in Blender is not easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all because of user error. It's because I'm not proficient enough at it. But once I do,
Hmm.
I'll be able to handle it a little bit better. But yeah, right now I'm just like, girl, why isn't this rotating correctly? Oh, it's because I forgot to press X. It's just dumb user mistakes.
Hmm. Yep.
Dr. Pepper says, I think Michael idea was good where she like tears through the meteor. Oh, where she tears through the meteor and it's like a big boss fight. Yeah, I like that too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, great ideas, guys. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is really coming together. I'm getting pretty excited about this. I'm
Yeah.
also dreading having to basically do all the programming to make this work.
Yeah, I'm kind of just using particle system to get stuff in there. I'm actually more like dreading the part where I have to texture and light and actually place each individual objects
Hmm.
compositionally look good, and I'm just like, oh, that's gonna take a while. But I think the most important part right now is just to figure out what our fly through is, what how it looks, how it feels, and then we'll worry
Hmm.
about the whole
Sure.
texturing and lighting and all that stuff is just candy on top or icing on top of the cake.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that actually it might be a decent segue into something that I was going to bring up. Um, a sort of like soft decision that I made personally, or a decision I think we should make. Obviously, I want your input before we decide to do it, but I think it's a pretty reasonable one, especially for the purpose of this project and such. Um, and that is to basically limit what we attempt to do, limit it to what we are actually capable of doing.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, for example, this online course that I'm taking is teaching me a certain number of things. Like, here's how to
Right.
do this stuff.
Hmm.
But there's some things that it's not teaching me. And because part of the problem that I ran into, my big fiasco problem, which I can get into in a second,
Sure.
um, is because I was doing something that he didn't directly teach me that I thought I could do,
Uh-huh.
and ended up tumbling down a rabbit hole, falling on my face. It was a big mess. So, and I spent a lot of time trying to, like, okay, let me see if I can figure this out. This can't be that hard. It was really hard to figure out. So much so that I think it could be really problematic or detrimental to our production process
Right.
to try to, like, come up with a grand vision of, like, okay, here's what we want it to do. Neither of us have any idea how to do that, but we'll figure it out.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a great can-do attitude and would certainly be appropriate in certain situations. But because we're both, I think, so new to this, and at least for me, that could mean, like, okay, sure, I'll figure out how to solve that one problem. It might take me like 3 weeks to a month to just do that one thing,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
opposed to saying, hey, we got this, grocery list of things that we know how to do. Let's just use those tools, those like basic fundamental tools, and build what we can.
Sure.
And the things that we just can't figure out how to do, well, yeah, we'll let it go. And maybe, once we're done with this MVP and we're like, you know what, this thing's really awesome and it's going to be worth spending the next 2 years working on. So
Right.
then we can start crossing those bridges and being like, here's our wish list of things we want to add, the problems we need to solve.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, I
I.
know that's a little bit of like a wet blanket of, like,
Mhm.
we have this grand vision and we're getting really excited and the imagination is running wild and we're like, whoa, 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 hold your horses.
Yeah.
You can only make a sand castle here. You're
Sure.
not going to build a skyscraper.
Right. 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 And I absolutely agree with what you said. And even though I think it's really awesome that you try to take things into your own hands and try to figure stuff out by yourself, I think that's the attitude to have. So even though I know you felt that you wasted a lot of time doing what you wanted to do and not doing it, I think that's actually a positive that you'll later probably look on and be like, yeah, I tried to do it, but I couldn't, but at least I tried, you know. Um, but currently, right now, if we wanted to, in a very respectful time manner, actually produce something, yeah, I agree. I don't want our project to become a learning tutorial exercise of Michael learning Unity and Chris learning Blender. You know, we'll never be able to finish this game if it's like, oh, what if we included that? Oh, how am I supposed to do this? You know, that happens every single month. You know, then we'll never finish a game. Some things, if it's pertinent, if it's essential to our games, then yes, we'll take the time to learn it. But let's not like. I love how you're able to put your producer hat on and say like, yeah, this. I mean, it'd be cool, but it might not be optimal to do that certain XYZ thing, because if we do that, it's gonna probably take. We're gonna add like 4, 5, 6 months to this game project that we're doing. So I agree, man. I agree. So whatever you think, and the ball is in your. I will let you make that decision because in a sense you are the. Sorry, I keep getting the camera thing mixed
Yeah,
up.
because it's
You are the.
backwards
It's
on
so backwards.
Zoom.
I gotta change the thing. But you are the game designer, and I want to be respectful of what you're learning, what you're capable of doing. And the same thing. I mean, I expect you not to push me in Blender so far. Be like, come on, it's so easy. You could do this. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. I could try to figure it out, but then again, it's gonna take like 4 or 5 months to do it. But if it's something that we both want, then we'll come to it. But yeah, I absolutely agree. If it's going too crazy, then let's make it as optimal and doable as possible. Yeah.
Sure. Okay,
So
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
then
totally
great.
agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm glad you agree with that. Because yeah, I think that generally, like, we should learn as much as we can to make the thing we're trying to make, but not get, but also make the thing given what you know, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to
Hmm.
like having this grand vision of all kinds of crazy shit that you could throw into it and
Yeah.
then spending the next, 5 years trying to learn how to do that. It'd be really
Right.
nice to just ship something that is a representation of our skill level right now.
Yeah. So let me ask you then, Michael, do you feel that what we've done so far is doable? Are there anything that you see that we've been doing that's like, whoa, let's pull back?
Um, I think it's doable.
Uh-huh.
I think there will be bugs that could potentially crop up that I'm not going to be able to fix
Hmm. Hmm.
or figure out. One of which is like draw distance, right? Seeing things far away.
Yeah.
Because currently, when I'm running, like here, I'll run one of the Unity things. Like if even in our original game here, the trees aren't populated until you get close enough to them. All right, actually, this one doesn't have any of the trees. Oh yeah, I lost the trees. Uh,
No,
but the other one I
I
think has
understand.
trees.
I understand what you're saying. Things in the far distance won't pop up until we get up to a certain point, then we'll see it. Yeah.
Right. And that I had like nobody's mentioned that in this tutorial I'm doing. That could potentially be some very complicated programming optimization that I might not be able to get us to. So
Uh-huh.
that might be something we have to work around with, like cheating where the camera is looking and maybe adding some fog effects or something.
Right.
Um, so there's that. But for the most part, I don't think there's anything we've talked about that I feel like, oh, we definitely can't do that. There's some things that are might be a little bit tricky, like um, when we fly inside some of the meters and it's kind of like close quarters, there's some things that could be a little bit tricky there with like the
Camera
camera
clipping.
clipping into
Yeah.
walls.
Yeah.
But I think, that's another thing that can be cheated where we can like
Mm-hmm.
shift the camera just enough because the camera's on rails and it's not moving. So even if the player does this, the camera's never going to move. So we can actually program the camera to like just barely not clip a wall. So that should be fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, Animation wise, everything that we've talked about, think I know how to do in Unity.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just probably some of it's going to be an awful lot of work. But it's not like an unknown. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. It's like, oh, I know how to do that. It's just, it's going to take a couple hours to do that.
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah, I feel like everything that we've talked about is totally doable. Yeah, I guess those are right now, those are my only worries. Draw
Okay.
distance
Yeah.
and a couple of other like tiny little things that might pop up,
Sure.
little
Sure.
bugs.
Sure. I think, I mean, any issues, I think if we look into it, I mean, not just you, but me as well. I mean, that whole draw distance might be just a click of a button. I don't know. It might be something super complicated. We don't know until we, do a little bit more deep dive and, try to solve that problem. Um, but yeah, if that whole, seeing stuff in the distance is an issue, then I guess that's just something we have to work against, or work
Mhm.
towards it, in that we'll just accept that into our game. It's like that's there's nothing we can do about it, right? But right now, I'm looking at, the mountains in the background. I mean, I could see like the mountains in the back, right? But then again, this
Mhm.
isn't like it's the scale of things is a little bit different on the planet versus in space. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and to like drive the point home, I have no idea why that is. Like I don't know why
sure,
there's
sure, sure.
no draw distance problem
Yeah,
here, but there is
yeah,
in the other thing that I was doing.
yeah,
It could
yeah.
be because this is like terrain and Unity treats terrain differently than it
Mhm,
treats
mhm, mhm.
models.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think we will just figure it out. I mean, I wouldn't. I know it's in the back of your head, but I wouldn't let that bother you so that you can't get any rest or anything. But I mean, rest assured, we'll figure out a way to do this. If it looks bad, then we'll just have to deal with it. But I mean, we'll try to make it not look bad, obviously. But you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's only so much we can do.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at is that, I'm certainly happy to seek out and solve problems
Mhm.
as much
Mhm.
as I can, but there is a
Mhm.
certain limit where it's like, mm,
Yeah.
do we want to ship something that's like good enough, or do we want to
Yeah.
actually spend time and wait 3 weeks while I try to figure out this problem? Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like speaking of one of those problems, the big thing that I ran into last time, I created this little file to kind of do the experiment to figure out like what the F was going on. And basically, what happened was, so I've got my scenes here. So I've got scene A, and then actually I think I could just do this in real time. So I'm going to get rid of these things. Um, so I've got scene A loaded here. So scene A up there, that's one of my scenes. And then the sample scene, that's just, Unity creates that automatically. So let me just delete that. And so when what I tried to do, what we had been working on was, I basically took this scene and either, you can like drag this and make a copy of it. And now I can just say like, oh, that's, it's scene B. But now
Mhm.
I've got this other scene. So if I double click this and load it, now I can change things in here. So if I'm like,
Uh.
oh yeah, that cube, I want to make that cube blue now in
Uh-huh.
this scene.
Uh-huh.
And so then I hit save. And when I go back to scene A, the cube's white still. So like
Mhm. Mhm.
anything that you change in scene A doesn't affect scene B. And then in scene B, if I open this up again, I'm like, oh, I really like that cube. Let me give him a buddy. So I'm going to put another cube in here, and I'm going to make that cube red. And in addition to that, I want to add a little bit of animation. So the way I can do that in timelines, I'm going to get rid of that one. So we're starting fresh. So in order to create a timeline, if I click on a thing, so like let's say we're going to move the red cube, right? So timeline here, I'm going to create, and sure, actually, let's call it red cube timeline, rude cube timeline.
Mm.
So I'm going to save that. And now if I go down here, I'm going to create a little animation track and say, give me the red cube. And now I want you to record. And when I click on that cube, we'll start him there. And we'll just do a little simple movement where he's kind of like moving over here. And so if I hit stop, and now I hit the play button here, he moves over there.
Nice.
Great. Wonderful. So here's his little timeline here. So he's got, a timeline that is attached to him here. And he's got this little timeline asset here. So I'm going to go ahead and move that into my timelines. And then to make it even more clear, well, actually, no, I think this is probably going to be just fine. So I'm going to hit save. And now what I had done previously was like, okay, so I'm in scene. So if I go back to scene A doesn't have any of that stuff
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I made a copy and I did it all in B, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you can imagine scene B being the file that I've been working with where I was going through the tutorial. And I was like, okay, I want to keep all this stuff here. I don't want to mess with it for doing the napkin prototype for our level 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. And I'm going to call that copy scene C. And then I'm going to open that. So when I open it, now I'm working in scene C, as you can see up here. And it's exactly the same as the other one.
Yeah.
But that's because it's just, a copy. So if I start making changes in here and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need the blue cube anymore. So let me get rid of him. And I can hit save that. When I go back to scene B, okay, yeah, that's behaving all exactly as I needed it to. But
Mhm.
maybe in scene C, I'm like, well, I want the red cube because currently the red cube, actually, did that not copy? Yeah. So currently the red cube, he's got the same timeline from
Animation.
before that I copied over, right? So I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, well, maybe I don't want him to do that. Like, actually, I want him to go somewhere else. So I'm going to, let me just delete this and I'll give him a new animation track. So I'll drag him down here and go ahead and hit record, click this guy. And let's say I want him to go away from the camera this time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to start him here, move 3 seconds ahead-ish, and move him over there. Like, okay, great. Now let's play that back, make sure that works. Yep, great, fantastic. All right, so all my work in scene C is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now maybe I need to go do some work in B. So I'm going to go back to B. All right, B is looking good. Let me go to my timeline here for our red cube. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't have the cube is there anymore. So like if I hit play, like nothing happens. That's
Oh
strange. I wonder
no.
if it got like delinked. So let me go ahead and grab this guy and bring him back down here and play. Oh,
Oh no.
what the fuck? That's weird.
Oh,
And it took me a while to figure this out.
uh-huh.
Somehow, all the other assets behave like normal files, where when you make a copy of the project and you're deleting them and changing them, what you do in one stays there. It doesn't affect the other ones. For some reason, these timeline assets are linked when you do a copy like that, which is what happened to me. Is when I did the copy of the file project that I was using to do my course. I made a copy in order to experiment with building our first level. When I
Uh-huh.
deleted the timeline there, because I was like, well, I don't need any of this anymore because I'm flying a new rail. Like I need to
Sure.
create a new rail system. When I deleted those and reopened my old file, when I was like, okay, that's cool. Let me go back in here to continue doing my class.
Yeah.
Everything was gone. I was like, what? What happened? Like, how did that get deleted?
Right.
And so it became this big to do where like I was searching the internet and couldn't really find a whole lot of help there and doing these experiments here. And basically what I figured out is when you create a copy of a file or of a scene,
Uh-huh.
any timeline that is copied over is linked. It's
It's
like
in
pointing
sure.
to a reference of some other thing that exists outside of that
Sure.
scene that you can
Right.
actually delete and adjust. However, if I were to go into scene C here, go ahead, yeah, sure, save it. And if I, do something like this where I create empty and I'll say like, I don't know, scene C timeline and create a new timeline here and call it, yep, see scene timeline. So now I've got this thing here. And now if I create an animation track, like, okay, great. I'm gonna put my little cube in here. Actually, I need to do this. Lock that, grab my little cube, put him there. And I need to unlock this for a second so I can go back to the cube and get rid of his animator. Delete. Now, when I deleted that there, it's going to affect scene B because that was the animation link that came when I copied over. But this new object, this new scene C timeline object that I've created, so now if I like hit this, move that guy there, move this guy over here, he does his thing, say okay, save, play. Now he moves over here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I created this brand new in this scene, when I go back to scene B, that's not going to be there. Doesn't exist here. So any changes that I make to it in scene C do not affect scene B.
Mm.
So there is a workaround that I figured out. It's basically just I can't, if I copy a scene, I can't make any changes to
The timeline.
any of the timeline objects
Yeah.
because in one scene they will affect the other scene. So I have to like just ignore them. So when I come into scene C here, like if I wanted to make another scene, call it, scene D, this scene C timeline, I can't touch because if I do anything to it, it's going to fuck up scene C. But
Sure.
what I can do is I can just create a new one here and call it, scene D timeline. And anything that I want to program in scene D, I could just do here under this one and just don't
Oh.
touch that one. Even
Oh.
though that one doesn't do anything here in scene D,
Right.
because that's for a different scene, I can't get rid of it. I can't because it's like hard linked to
Right.
the asset that's in this other scene. So the reason why this is like an important thing and a problem is because the way I learned how to do in this course to do individual levels is with
Mm-hmm.
scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you build the application, in the preferences menu, it asks like, okay, what are the scenes you want to include with the build? What are the order that they go in? In the code, you say like, okay, when the player completes this scene, when XYZ conditions are met, unload this scene and load the new scene. And so
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you're progressing to the next level. So when we were talking about our scenes, I was like, okay, great. Well, here's what I'll do. I'll do scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to a certain point, we can unload the current scene, load the new scene. And each scene is going to have a different timeline. The problem with that is exactly what I've just showed here, is that though I've got to be crazy careful with the timelines, because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
changing a timeline in a copy of a scene will actually uh, modify it or delete it in its original source scene.
Right, right,
Oof.
right, right. That's wow.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
And
that's a
it's
holy
like
cow.
you would not expect that behavior. Like did you I'm so confused as to why it behaves that way, like why it works that way. Because the other
Right.
assets where you're like, oh yeah, if you delete it here, it's not going to affect the last scene because this is
Yeah,
a save as. This is a copy.
right,
Like,
right.
anyway, thanks for listening to me
Yeah,
rant about that.
no
That I
problem.
was pulling my hair out for 3 days.
That issue kind of relates to Blender, where Blender gives you two kinds of duplicate. One is linked and one is a copy. When it's
Hmm.
linked, you basically duplicate the same object and it doesn't take any additional memory at all when you make a linked object.
Oh.
So, for example, when you press Alt D, you make a copy of the thing, but it retains the same object information. So you can make a billion of object cube A and a billion of them, and this file will still be 5 megabytes. I'm assuming, right? But
Cool.
if you make cube B, if you make a just like a straight up copy of it, you'll have
Hmm.
another copy, but if you move one vert, the 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 other one stays the same. It's two different entities. So if you
Hmm.
save that, it'll, I don't know, become 10 megabytes because 5 and 5 plus 10. I
Sure.
don't know. That's probably not right, but for the sake of the purpose. So yeah, I've been there before. Like I've created this model and I start changing stuff and then not realizing, oh shit, it's actually changing it on the linked object, and whatever I made changes to this, it fucked up with this one too. I'm just like, oh god, why? So apparently in Unity, timelines act as linked instances. Um, that's interesting. Is there anywhere where you can duplicate the scene, but create a copy and not an instance of a timeline? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, if there is, I don't know how to do that, because the ways that I know how to make a new scene is, if I drag this and hold option, it's going to make some kind of duplicate or copy.
Yeah. Can
I don't
you right
know.
click on it? Right click on the scene and then I
Create,
guess
reveal,
not.
and finder, copy path. Um, there's also, like, if I go, I don't know, can you see this menu
Yep,
here
I
that
can
I
see
just
that
clicked
menu.
on?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So there's save as, and if I do
Hmm.
that, then I can save, this is a new scene. So under asset scenes, I
No,
can
it
call
doesn't
this
it doesn't give you like
F.
a
Yeah, there's no other option
yeah,
to like,
yeah.
and then if I open this, it's opening scene F, so it's exactly the same as scene D
Sure.
and E. But
Okay.
so,
That
but
that
but the
was
thing that's weird
uh-huh.
is the other assets behave like you would expect a fresh copy, right? Because like
Right.
if we go all the way back to A,
Yeah.
we created this, and then B has got
Yep.
these two.
Mhm.
And then when we did this for C, it
Mhm.
deleted the blue cube in C, but not the one in B. So the
Yeah.
cube's not linked, but for some reason, the timeline
Timelines are
asset
sure.
is.
Okay. Well, that's just a very, very expensive way to learn that timelines are act as instances.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper says, that's where all your time will be if you UV unwrap things. Oh, yeah, that's the getting dirty, get down and dirty with the UVs and texturing. That'll be my part of going to war, getting my hands dirty is that UV texturing.
Going to war.
Oh gosh. Um, when is the ballpark finish of the game playable? He has also said, when will it be finished? I wondered that weird. Oh, when? Oh, okay. That's a great question. That's a super, super awesome question. Michael, do you want to take that?
Yeah.
Cause if I take it, I'm just gonna be like, I don't know. We'll be done whenever we're done.
I mean, yeah, I think that's the Blizzard slash Valve answer. Like it's done when it's done.
Yeah,
Um, which the any of my like producer mentors would be chastising me for saying that, because like one of the things that the producer is supposed to know is like
yeah.
the timeline, like when it's supposed to be done. But because is this is a special type of project because I think it's a lot easier when you have a team of people who are already trained and you're asking them to do or use their skills to make a thing and they've made 10 of those things before, so they know like, oh, what's the scale and scope of the thing that you're making and what's my part, like what do you want me to do? Yeah, that's going to take me about 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you can take those pieces, put them all together and figure out like, okay, as long as the building doesn't burn down, there isn't some kind of tornado or flood or something or an act of God, we should be done in 3.5 months with this thing. But it's much harder to say what that is, like what that timeline is, under at least two conditions, maybe more than that. But the two that I'm thinking of are, one, when you don't know what it is you're making, when there's
Mhm.
a whole lot of creativity that is required to put into the pot, which is kind of like the path that Chris and I have been on for months at this point. When we originally started this, we didn't know like, hey, let's make a rail shooter video game. Let's just make one level. It's going to be about 5 minutes or whatever it is, and let's do that. We started this being like, hey, let's do a project together. No idea what it's going to be, but let's just do something. And the creative process is just so messy, and there's so many like, I hate to call them dead ends, but there's so many like pathways you go down where you realize, oh, actually, this is not the direction we want to go. Let's go back to the fork in the road and go down a different path. Oh, that's also not where we want to go. Like, let's
Mm,
backtrack, and actually go in the opposite direction of where we. So there's so many like start and stops that it can be hard to put a time frame around something that you're doing that's never been done before, as opposed to something that you've done in the past. And then the second thing that can cause like the monkey wrench into the equation and make it nearly impossible to say how long it's going to take to do a thing is if the people who are making it are learning it and they've
yeah.
never done it before, and they're
Right.
because in that case, like trying to like solve a problem, it's not just about like, oh yeah, okay, here's the problem at hand, it's going to require X, Y, and Z from us to do. Instead, the people who are solving the problem have to figure out, oh, X, Y, and Z exist, and it
Yeah.
actually will solve this problem for us.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really kind of hard to say, and I know that's a little bit of a cop out answer, but right now we don't really know. I do know that I'm pretty close to finishing the tutorial I'm doing. That should be done in the next couple of weeks. And then once that's done, well, basically we'll have at least in terms of programming the game, um, all the tools that we need to actually start building the pieces. Then from there, it's just a matter of uh, you know pushing dials and pulling levers and twisting knobs to get the machine to do what we want it to do.
Mhm.
Um, but even then, I'm not really going to be able to say how long it's going to take because I've never done that before. I've never, programmed animation for 40 elements in a scene. If I had done that on 10 projects before, then I'd be able to say like, oh yeah, that's animated object of the, X level of complexity. You need 40 of them. That's going to take me 13 hours. I have no idea. Like it might
Yeah.
take 300 hours for all I know.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's my like really fancy way of dodging the question and saying, I don't know. I don't know when we're going to be done.
Yeah, and I mean, technically we can be done by tomorrow. I mean, Michael and I could just like whip up something really, really quickly and then just call it a day. We're done, because Michael, you've already programmed like an animation of the ship. I mean, we have, our ship, we have an enemy ship, and we have the mini boss. We could just put that into the scene in Unity right now and just say, "Oh, this is what we did. We were done." But it depends on how. sexy of a quality that we want in the game? How finished is it? Because yeah, I mean, I this game could take like 5 years or it could take under a year, right? It depends on how polished we want it to look, and that's where the whole UV texturing and like special effects, how crazy over the special effects we want it there to be, like the buildings, how many buildings are there, just like there's just so many elements that we don't know yet of how of what's going to be in there and how long it's going to take. Because one thing, for example, like when I learn something, it usually takes like X amount of time. Like it takes 10 hours to do something once. And then once I figure it out, and then the second time I do it, it's probably going to take 5 hours. And then third time I do it, it's going to probably take an hour. So it'll take less and less time as I get better and better at it. And hopefully that will be the case when I'm starting to create the game asset for all the things we'll be shooting at, dodging, and weaving out of. So hopefully that answers your question, Dr. Pepper. Great question. That's a really
Yeah,
good
very
question.
good question.
He also says, for how smart Unity is, that's pretty dumb it does that. Oh, he's talking about the timeline
Right?
as an instance. Yeah. So
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, and really threw me for a loop for that very reason. I was like, there's no way it's doing that. I thought like
Yeah.
I must have done something wrong.
Right.
Hence the like test environment with the cubes and the simple timelines. And like, nope, it really does that. Wow. I
Holy
wonder
cow.
why.
Yeah. Hmm. That's
So
really,
yeah,
really
that
interesting.
was and the frustrating thing is that like once you delete those things, they're gone. Like as
Mm.
far as I know, there's no way to like recover those things, which is why I then had to go and get this backup file
Right. Right.
um
Right. Right.
out of the archives,
Yeah.
which also then reminded me like, man, I really need to learn uh what's called source control in the programming world, um, which is basically just uh like version control, making sure that you
Mm.
have an
Mm-hmm.
archive
Mm-hmm.
that you can go back through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they have like an entire system called Git. You may have heard of GitHub,
GitHub. Yeah.
which is that's what that uh, platform really is. It's a source control platform where you can interact with it and set your project up in a way that it saves commits or like versions of the project. So if you do something like I did, which is like stupidly assume that the timeline asset will behave just like every other asset in Unity and delete it, and then it deletes all the work that you've done. You can then revert to a previous version,
Sure.
but Git's
Sure.
kind of hard to use, and I haven't learned it yet. Though I do have
Mm.
a course from those same guys
Mm.
that teach GitHub, so I should probably do that at some point. But again, another case of something that somebody with experience and expertise would be like, oh yeah, of course, I already
Yeah.
know how to use
Right. Right.
GitHub.
Right.
Like that's not a problem. But
Yeah.
that's for us is going to be like a whole thing and a deal. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we got to learn this.
Yeah, we're
Um,
still in that sector of we don't know that we don't know. We're trying to move from
yes,
that
very well said.
into we know that we don't know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely a journey, and I think it's fine. I know you said you took 3 days, and it you know it was really frustrating. But hey, man, at least you got through it, and you learned. We learned from this, and it's expensive, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't make that mistake again. And it helps me. It's kind of like it's well, I don't know why this metaphor popped in my head, but it's I guess a little bit like a Roomba. I don't have a Roomba, but I've known friends who have it, and I guess the way that it like learns the layout of your house is it
Mm,
just drives around crashing into walls, and then
mm,
it remembers like, oh yeah, there's a wall there, okay, and then
mm.
it drives into a different direction, then poof, it crashes into another wall. Oh, there's a wall there. It's a little bit like that, where I'm the Roomba
Uh,
and I'm crashing into like, oh, I can't do that with timelines because it deletes
uh,
everything. Okay, got it.
yeah,
So it's this kind of messy, bumbling process, but it's what you have to do in order to learn the limits
yeah,
the of the application or
right.
the program or whatever it
Yeah.
is you're doing.
Yeah, you just gotta keep persevering and not let it. Because I'm pretty sure you felt defeated is not the right word, but you felt like really, really aggravated, and it's like, what the
Oh
fuck,
yeah,
you know? But
totally.
you persist through it, and you fought the good fight. and you're still
Yeah,
fighting. Yeah.
it was like going back to the Roomba metaphor. One of my friends told me this story of her Roomba, because they're not that smart and they're supposed to be able to like avoid certain problem
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
terrain. And
Uh-huh.
she had this like very high-rise rug in her apartment. And when
Uh-huh.
she came back home, the Roomba was like flipped upside down and the
What the
rug was
hell?
like all wound up inside of its innards. Because I guess
Oh
when it
geez.
went to do its cleaning, it like went over the rug and then had a
Oh
battle with the
geez.
rug. And then, so that was me. I was the Roomba that encountered the rug in the past 3 days
Right,
and
right.
really, yeah, got thrown for a loop, which
Yeah.
is much more frustrating than just bumping into a wall.
Yeah. Well, I want to say that this is the last one, but I'm pretty sure we'll
No way.
definitely have
Yeah.
both for you for Unity and me for Blender, we'll definitely have a lot of like issues that we'll learn that is an issue that we shouldn't have done a certain thing a certain way. Then I'll be like, oh
Mhm.
damn, I got to go back and redo everything. I'm keeping my head up above water because I know that that's gonna happen sooner or later, but hopefully it'll not too many of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Cool. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing that experience with me and the chat. You want to talk a little bit about homework of what is expected
Yes.
next time? So on my end, I will mock up something in 3D. I will update scene 3 in Blender, as well as create scene 4, and then maybe start to create scene 5 because scene 4 and scene 5 is almost like so close to each other. So basically, I'm gonna try to mock up scene 3, 4, and 5 um, by next our next session, which is going to be a Wednesday. Yeah, but don't expect too much work
Um,
to be done because there's only a few
yeah,
days in
because
between. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
Wednesday is like the half half week session.
yeah.
We could also consider re doing like a version 2 of the scenes to consolidate and clean them up a little bit since we talked about kind of merging some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because now I think we kind of have like three scenes really. The
Right.
first scene where you kind of arrive, you're with your ship in like the little asteroid field and you kind of get attacked. The second scene, which is where currently scene 3, where
Mm-hmm.
you're defending the colony asteroids, and then the final scene where you go to the big structure, find the pit boss, and
Mm-hmm.
then are trying to defeat. Well, I guess maybe four scenes, because then once you've dislodged the pit boss, then she comes to fight you, and then you do like your big battle sequence. So really, we're really kind of just combining scenes
1 and 2.
1 and 2
Uh-huh.
together,
Right.
and yeah, and then scene 4 is basically the same thing, but instead of going to the mining operation, it's just the bigger colony thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not change the scene layout because I think we can kind of just leave it as is, and it won't be that confusing. And because it would be more confusing to change the scene numbers than be like, wait a minute, scene 4? You mean version 1 scene 4 or version 2 scene 4?
Right.
So never mind. I just talked myself out of it. Let's not do that. Let's keep the existing scenes.
Okay.
And yeah, scenes 1 and 2 will just be, you know, kind of smashed together.
Okay.
But yes, go ahead and continue with kind of doing mock-ups with that. And really though, like what you've done with what we saw today, I think is like 80% of the work is done. If you want to maybe take a stab at what we might be seeing when we go onto the insides of
Oh
some of
yeah.
those
Sure.
asteroids, that
Sure.
might be worth
Yeah.
uh
Yeah. Yeah. Cause scene in my mind that's kind of a scene 4, right? Is that right? Yeah. And
yep.
yeah, let me just concentrate on scene 4 because that itself is going to be a pain in the butt.
Okay.
Because that whole camera clipping issue, that's a real thing too that I'm experiencing in Blender. Because I remember that. few weeks ago I showed you how the trench run was going, and then when I made the turn, the camera was clipping into like the
Hmm.
planes. So
Hmm.
I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, let me go ahead and do that instead. Let me concentrate on the interior, how it looks like when it goes going through the insides of the asteroid or the base.
Sure.
Um, that's going to be really interesting. Okay, I'll do that instead. That's what I'll concentrate on. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for me, I will continue trying to get scenes 1 and 2 up and running. Probably won't have a whole lot done, but I'm
Mm,
also going to continue with the tutorial,
nice.
the online course, and see where I
Nice.
get to. But I mean, I don't know how much I'll get done between now and Wednesday,
Yeah.
but I will try by this time next week to have at least to have uh, some rough programming for scene 1. That way we can at least look at it and be like, oh, okay, this is kind of how that goes.
Cool.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
you've already got scene 3 done. Like we could program that into the game now. And then we've got a rough idea of what scene 4 is going to look like, and also kind of rough idea of 5.
Right.
So really,
Yeah.
1 and 2 are the kind of the big unknowns. So I'll do my best to kind of shore that up, figure that out by next Sunday.
Yeah, and what you
Is it
have
Sunday?
is
It
a
is.
next yeah, what you have in scene 1 is amazing. Like you got the skybox in already and
Ah,
yeah,
yes, I
that's
figured
cool.
out how to do that.
That is awesome.
Um,
Your skybox looks so much prettier than the green one that I was using. We might just use this one.
oh, cool. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Because if we want to
because
use this one,
it's prettier.
I I already own the licensing rights to this, so we could just
Yeah.
use this one. Um,
Can you upload this one to our server whenever you get a chance?
yes.
Cool. Thank
I
you.
don't know what the file type is because I actually tried so I downloaded the Skybox you've been using and I tried to
Uh-huh.
import it into Unity and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't spend a lot of time like,
Sure.
how do you import an HDR file into Unity?
Right, right.
But I went into the Skybox setting and like
Uh-huh.
tried to drag it in there and it didn't like that. This one, it already had it as part of the like, where the spaceship prototype
Uh-huh.
models that
Uh-huh.
I've been
Uh-huh.
using, like this
Yeah.
ship. It was just in that set. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm happy to share that with you.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, because I find this one a lot it's prettier.
Yeah, there were a couple different ones in there, and I tried a few of them. There's even one that has like a green nebula that's kind of similar to the one that you're using, but it
Uh-huh.
also included like a green lighting system, which looked kind of weird. I chose this one because it didn't change the lighting. It kind of used the same sort of like sun lighting effect,
Sure.
which I
Yeah.
thought was um, it, and I'm not saying we have to go with that if we decide like, oh, actually, let's put a red giant in the background, and so we'll have a red glow on everything. Like if we want to do that, that's totally fine. But
Mm-mm-mm.
for the purposes of this, I didn't want us to get distracted with like, everything's got
Yeah.
this weird like green tint or whatever.
Right. I mean, what's in Blender right now has a huge green tint in it, so because I like how it
Hmm.
looks how it looks right now.
Well, I mean, while you're here, I can actually do that if I can remember. It is. Oh, I need to. Come on, stupid Zoom getting in my way. I need to do rendering, lighting, put the lighting thing up here, environment, skybox. I think it's under materials. And is it miscellaneous? Yes, here we go. So I can drag this up here and we get the green
Ooh.
one and we can
Yeah.
see what that looks like.
Hmm.
So you
Oh
could
yeah, that
already
makes
see
everything
it's got,
that's weird.
yeah,
It's like bleeding through the uh I mean, it's not even taking into account the that you're inside of an
right.
interior.
Yeah, it's just like this uniform ambient green light.
Weird. I'm I'm sure you could program it to make it
Yeah,
yeah. But this
there are
is
ways for
actually
us to adjust it.
this is pretty too.
Yeah, I like this one too.
Yeah.
The skybox itself looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. There was another one. I think this is This one turns everything. Oh, I need to
Purple.
click here. Yeah, this one exactly. This one gives everything kind of like a purple cast.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, wow. It totally disregards the the
The fact that you're like
yeah,
not even in direct line of sight with the
the sun.
light,
Yeah.
but the background is cool. Like this
Wow, that's
skybox is
pretty.
really pretty.
That's pretty.
In fact, I can give you I'll try to upload all four of these and you can, play with them
Oh,
and pick
oh,
whichever one you like in
oh.
case you like one better than the other.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And then I think, oh yeah, this one is just like raw ass space. There are no um, nebulas or anything, and it looks okay. I
Wow,
think
plane's all
the ones
dark.
that have the like nebula clouds, it just
Uh-huh.
look cooler.
Yeah.
But this one, it's fine. The lighting is a bit of a problem because now the ship is almost stealth bomber black.
Is it playing at all?
But yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, are you not
it's
seeing
yeah,
it running?
it's just frozen on the screen right
Oh
now.
man.
That's fine.
Here, let me I'll stop sharing and I'll reshare. We'll see if that fixes it. Is it playing?
Yeah, it's playing. Perfect.
Great.
Well, at least the plane is dark. With that,
Yeah,
that
really
makes
dark.
sense.
And then
Yeah.
when it'll like clear the shadow right here, almost. Maybe not. There it is. Now it's in sunlight, so you can kind
Yeah.
of see the ship. So yeah, I don't know. The regular ass space looks fine. I don't think it's quite as interesting.
Yeah.
And I like having the nebulas in there because it also gives you a bit of a sense of like orientation.
Yeah.
You can
I
kind of tell
agree.
like, oh, okay, that's where I am, and now I'm moving in this direction. Whereas with just space, like, am I right side up? Am I upside down? Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Right.
Anywho, yeah, I'll try to dig these because I don't know what it's a .mat file,
Dot mat.
I guess.
Dot mat is a material file, so I think you could actually go deeper even,
Oh,
because you
really?
could probably extract that as a an image. Probably is an image of some sort.
Well, okay. I'll look into
Okay.
ways to export it, and I'll
Cool.
see
Thank you.
if I can get you something that you can use.
Cool. Appreciate it, dude.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is that a wrap for design
I
session and homework?
Yeah, I think that is a wrap for the design session and homework. So, we will go ahead and go into our Q&A. If there are anyone in the chat that has questions for Michael and I, we will be here to go ahead and take your questions and try our best to answer them. Yeah. Uh, Before I do that, I want to go ahead and fix my screen right here and move myself down. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm still trying to get all these settings right for OBS. Oh, Dr. Pepper asked, are you taking courses for Blender or are you doing it as you go? So currently, I'm not doing or taking any courses at all. I have a little bit of Blender experience, but when there are things that I don't know how to do, I just go on YouTube and just figure it out. And it's probably for something stupid like how do you move the orbit control point? It's something that I know how to do, but because I haven't used Blender for a very, very long time, I just forget, right? And but there are definitely times when I go on YouTube and I actually look at Blender tutorials, and I just go down into this rabbit hole of, oh, this is what you can do. Oh, this is something else you could do. Oh, this is also you could do it here too. But I have to be very careful of doing that because on this project, everything that is going to be created is actually going to be made in Unity. So, for example, to all the particle systems that I'm doing, that's kind of a cheat right now because that's just me populating space with the particle system. But I don't know for a fact that particle systems can be exported into Unity. I hope so, but I don't think so. Maybe Dr. Pepper, you might know, because right now I don't know. I will have to do a little bit of research and or just do trial and error, and I would just be like, oh, okay, export this particle, this object with the particle, and it's either going to break or not work at all. And then if I give the file to Michael, Michael exports it, he's going to be like, I just see a sphere. That's it. I was like, oh, okay, I guess the particle system doesn't work. So yeah, but currently, to answer your question, I am not taking any Blender courses. I am just flying off of the seat of my pants, and then is that the right saying? I don't think that's the
Flying
right
by
saying.
the seat of your pants. Yes.
By the seat of my pants. And if I have any issues, I just go and Google it, or YouTube it. Dr. Pepper also asked, it might be a little early to ask since this is fairly new to you both. However, do you guys think you'll want to make more games together, or at least with a bigger team? Ah, Michael, take that question.
Sure. Um, there are two answers to that. The first one is right now we're kind of just focused on getting this one level done, and then when we do that, we're going to have a powwow where we come together and look at what we've done and say like, oh, okay, great, we did what we set out to accomplish. How do we feel about it? Are we excited about this project still? Do we want to make the rest of the game? Are we excited about making video games? So maybe we want to change gears and do some other creative project that's not video game related. Don't really know. So that's the first answer. The second answer is hell yes. Like I would love to be in a position where we could have a very large team of people working on a much more ambitious game. And really the only thing that's kind of like preventing that is not having a big enough bank account to pay the salaries for these people. So when we get to a point where we can actually bring in more people to help, because it's really tough for me and Chris to do all of it ourselves. There's so many, and we've had conversations about this a couple of times on the show. Even things that are, just within the art department itself.
Yeah.
There's so many different roles that Chris has to, like, so many different hats that he has to put on between, doing
The
concept.
concept, 3D models, texturing, rigging, lighting, special effects, compositions. I think that's what it's called. Compositing. Sorry, compositing. And then did I say rigging already? I think I said rigging already. But just like when I was actually working in Petroglyph, the video game company based in here in Vegas, I was only the concept artist. I was the concept designer. I drew what the truck or building might look like, and then I would hand that off to a 3D modeler who also does the modeling and the texturing, and then they would hand it off to someone to actually rig it and put bones on it so that it could move, and then they would give it to someone else so that they could actually animate it, right? And then they would give it to someone else, and then they would put that inside the game level, so it's a level editor. So there's like a whole bunch of different hats and positions within that video game company. So yeah, yeah, that's what Michael was talking about. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole different, and with what we're doing right now, I have to take care of everything up to a certain point, and then I give it to Michael and be like, all right, here you go, Michael. Make magic with this asset. So yeah, that's yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Michael. That's
No,
exactly
no,
what
no.
I
That
was
was
wanting to
perfect.
add. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of the crux there. I think like for both Chris and I, we have a lot of project ideas. The journey that we've been on to get just to where we are right now included so many different ideas, and we are kind of chomping at the bit to get those ideas done too. The problem is that it's just two of us. It's just two people,
Hmm.
and that has a couple of impacts. One is it limits what we can actually attempt to do because there's only so much that you can do with two people. Second, it lengthens the amount of time that it takes to do that thing, especially because in the case of like what we're doing right now, there's so much that we didn't know when we started. I'd never used Unity before when we started this project. Well, actually, that's not true. I may have had some exposure to it in the theme park industry because we would use 3D tools to kind
Mm.
of like look around environments. And I think we had a model that we were running in 3D, or it might have been running in Unity for VR purposes. But I didn't know anything beyond like, oh, when people want to do the VR thing, I push that button. Okay, that kind of thing. I didn't even put two and two together to know that it was a game engine. So having to like build from that foundation upward is tough. It would be so much easier to just hire somebody who's a Unity expert or hire a team of people who can build the game in Unity. Um, Leveraging a team of people to make games would be really cool, and I would,
Mm,
yeah, very much like for that to be in the future. Uh, but currently, that is a possibility. That's
mm,
not a certainty, and not a yes, we're driving towards that because we're still kind of, I think, exploring our creative potential with this project and other projects. So we'll see. I think at some point something is probably going to stick or really take off. And we're going to feel like we're in our groove. And or if it becomes like mega successful, we're like, oh, okay, everybody really likes that thing. So let's make more of that.
yeah, go that.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, that's my long-winded answer to that question.
Yeah.
Good question, though. Really good
Yeah.
question. These are great
And
questions, Dr. Pecker.
yeah, and then Pepper also asked, will you guys publish this games onto Steam for everyone to enjoy and pay a little incentive, or will you have a certain website like a portfolio people can visit to play it? I think the goal, or we discussed about this, is that yes, we definitely want our game to be on Steam so that people can download it, and we can make a little bit of money so that we can you know get the capital that we need for our projects. Maybe for this rail shooter game, or another project that we want to, and whatever it is, as long as Michael and I could just keep growing and growing and growing. There's a lot of things that we want to do, that we have on the back burner. But number one, we want to definitely finish this project really, really strong, and yes, put it on Steam, and so that people get interested, and that way we'll know if we should continue on going in this direction or if we should do something different. But yeah, what do you think, Michael?
No, very well said. Yeah, that's exactly right. We so that we'll if you're following us, you'll definitely have an opportunity to play the game because we're going to have a beta test period where once
Mm,
Chris and I have taken it as far as we can and we feel like, okay, now it's time for the community to play this thing and give us feedback, we'll do a beta test where
mm,
we'll provide you with a link and you could just go play the game for free.
yep.
As long as you're, willing to give us some feedback and say
Mm,
what you like, what you don't like. Hey, I ran into this bug. That would be really helpful for us.
yeah, yeah.
And then, at some point thereafter, when we think we've got a thing that's like, okay, there's no more bugs in this, we've fixed the parts that were too hard, the parts that
Hmm.
were too easy, we've
Hmm.
balanced it, like this thing's ready to ship. Then yes, we'll have some kind of like storefront where it'll be accessible. Um, so yes, and Steam is the intended target, uh, and just Steam for PC currently,
Hmm.
even though we could port to different platforms because Unity allows that. We could get it on iOS and Mac and Android and Nintendo Switch and Xbox and all this stuff. Right now, again, going back to what I was talking about before about limiting scope and giving us a kind of hard concrete milestone that is within that is reasonable for us to reach. We're just starting with Steam for PC, and then if we hit that milestone and then realize like, okay, yep, we want to keep going with this thing, we're going to release it on other platforms, then we'll do that later. But right now, current plan is just finish this one level, uh, get it out there for beta testing, and then see where we go from there.
Yeah. And Dr. Pepper, you're definitely going to. We would love, love, love for you to, play the beta and let us know what you think. Because so far, you and a
Yes.
whole bunch of others have given input as well. So we want to give you guys credit and thank you so much again for your time to, spending time with us to, be here and asking us questions and giving us feedback because that's super valuable. It makes us know that people are actually interested in seeing this game come to fruition, and it gives me at least and Michael the fact that yeah, people are out there, they're interested, let's do a good job. But I know for a fact that me and Michael, we're kind of like perfectionists, we want to get it done as the best as possible. But with now people watching us, they're watching us, that we definitely want to make it as good as possible. And Dr. Pepper says, I think that's a good idea. You guys deserve a lot of hard work going into this, and it really shows on both your ends. No, thank you so much, Dr. Pepper. That means a lot that that you say that, because yes, it does take a lot of time and energy, and I've never really appreciated video games. I mean, I appreciated them, obviously. I knew the hard work that what they had to go through, but I appreciate it even more now, so that I'm actually doing it, because again, until you walked in a man's shoe or something like that saying, you'll never know how it really feels, because creating one little tiny asset is a lot of work. So example, like Michael and I, we play Overwatch, and in Overwatch, the game environment is so beautiful. The way they design like rocks, like little tiny bridges, like when you're in a tavern, there's like a little coffee canister or something, and I'm just like looking at the detail. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. They're using bump maps and everything. This is, so beautiful. And people who, for those people who don't model, who don't create assets like that, you won't really appreciate it. Like I'm just like staring at a rock, and I'm sure my all my teammates on my team are be like, "Why is that guy looking at a rock?" It's because I'm studying how they do the texturing and everything. And I appreciate it. I know all the hard work that goes into it. So for those of you guys who are watching, now or later on in the future, for you guys all making games and movies out there, I appreciate everyone's hard work, is because I've I'm struggling to do a fraction of what they're doing. And yeah, so that's I don't know why I went on that rant. Oh yeah, it's to show the hard work. So yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. And Dr. Pepper also says, not sure if you answered this already. I apologize if you did, but where did you guys get your inspiration from to create this? Michael.
Good question. So part of the inspiration for doing this was we had originally set out to make a different video game in Unity, actually. We were working on something else, and we were like, yeah, let's make this into the. Actually, I stumbled into Unity just to start like trying to make some assets in a 3D environment for this other thing that we were working on, and quickly realized through like doing some tutorials, I'm like, okay, how do I use this program? Realized like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I could actually just learn how to make a video game in this. And then I had these tutorials that I'd acquired from Humble Bundle that teach you like, here's how to do Unity in 3D. So I started doing that. And the original plan was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go away for a while and learn how to make this thing in Unity. And then once I've learned how to use Unity completely, then we'll come back and we'll make this game. In the meantime, we'll kind of just sort of like keep working on it, keep touching base. Um, but after I did the first two projects in that course, and the second one that I did was this actual like complete little game. It's like you play this little like rocket ship. Actually, do I have that on my computer? Maybe I could just pull that up. I could just show you. I might not have it. I don't have my own game. Okay, well, you'll have to just take my word for it.
All right.
But it's this very simple, like the screen is static. You've got a little rocket ship and you can kind of like fly it, and you got to fly it from, point A to point B. And I made that just following the tutorial. I had no intention of actually sharing that with anybody or for it actually be a game. But I completed like 5 levels per the instructions in the tutorial. And when I was done, I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to share this with some people. So I sent it to Chris. I sent it to like 1 or 2 other friends. And they played it and was like, they had fun with it, though it was frustrating. I included
Just
one level that was really hard and everybody hated it. It made everybody mad.
yeah, but
What
it was
was
good,
neat
man.
about it, well, yeah, it was good. Yeah, good amount of frustration because when you
Yeah,
finally beat it, you're like, yeah.
yeah.
But what was so cool about it was I was like, hey, I made this thing and I shipped this thing. That's pretty neat. And the next project in that online course was a rail shooter. It's like, we're going to show you how to make a rail shooter. And that's when I reached out to Chris and was like, hey, when I made that little spaceship game with the 5 levels and the really hard level at the end and shared that with people, that was there was something really cool about shipping that little thing. And instead of us waiting for me to get through all of this training to learn how to use Unity, why don't we put that big ambitious project we're working on the shelf for now, and let's just make a rail shooter game. Let's use the tutorial that I'm doing and actually just make it our own and take what I'm learning there and package it up in a way that's got your unique art assets, our own story, our own game design that's different from what we're learning in the tutorial, and actually make something that we can put out there and ship. So we can kind of like actually get some work done while I'm learning Unity instead of waiting until the end. Chris was like, yeah, that sounds great. That's a really good idea. So then we spent some time together reviewing a bunch of references and looking at other games, other rail shooters in the past that he and I both like. Um, and probably the biggest influence is going to be Star Fox. That was a game that I played a whole bunch of when I was a kid. Star Fox 64 was my first Star Fox, and I love that game. The series as a whole, I think, has some troubles. Like it has not been the most successful of Nintendo's franchises, but man, is it cool! And those characters are really neat. And there's a bunch of arcade games too that are really neat, like the
Time Crisis,
Star Wars
Dino.
trilogy. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
Time Crisis
Yeah.
games, the Lost World, Jurassic Park games.
Mhm.
But the Star Wars trilogy arcade game is another one that is a big inspiration for me. That's not the one that was like that had vector graphics, the original like asteroid kind of like looking Star Wars game. This one came out later in the like 90s or something, made by Sega. Had pretty good graphics, and you basically are just playing the big set piece battles from the original Star Wars trilogy. So like the Assault on Death Star, the Battle of Hoth, Endor, and that sort of thing. Yeah, so those two were like the big inspirations for me, in addition to like a couple of other things. But yeah, Chris, anything to add to that?
No, no. For me, it was also Star Fox, and for me also it was the Time Crisis. I didn't realize Time Crisis was a real shooter until you actually, showed me the all the various reference videos. I'm like, oh yeah, that is a real shooter. It's just on the ground, right? Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I also remember loving kind of like the game F-Zero. Have you ever played F-Zero
Mm,
before? Yeah, that I like that as well. So anything that is on the rail that's like shooting that you feels like you're flying, that always got me really, really interested, and that always, gets my blood pumped. Like, yeah, this is cool. I want to play it, and just to seeing what Michael is learning in Unity is like, oh yeah, this is really doable. And now, when you're explaining that little game to me, I'm just like, I'm looking up in the air. I'm like, huh. I wonder if that was the game that we should probably. I wonder if that was the type of game we should probably have done before
have started with.
the with the rail shooter, because with that game that was just flying up and down, that was very, very contained. Like you're looking at the level itself. Oh, sorry, you're not seeing my fingers. It's like this level, right? And you know where you start and you know where it ends. All you got to do is just put stuff in there, and that
Mhm.
was so simple. And it was like just basically going from point A and then flying to point B. And I'm just like, wow, that's really cool. And it seems a lot more simple than what we're trying to do right now. But that's not to say we should, change everything and do something simpler. But I was just like, man, yeah, you created 5 different levels just using the existing assets that you had, and that was a fun game in itself. So that was really cool.
And I'm digging
Did
that
you
up
find
right
it?
now. I think I found it. So I'm gonna
Nice.
open that. Let's see if we can actually play this thing. Because yeah, in hindsight, yes. At the time, I was like, well, I've completed that project. Like that thing's done, and
Yeah.
I'm rolling into the next thing. So like, hey, let's do this thing. Didn't realize at the time, this is kind of an ambitious
Yeah.
thing to roll into.
But it's okay. It's okay.
It happens. We're we're ambitious. All right, so I'm going to share this. We're going to see if this works. Um, So here you go. So yep, here's the
Yeah.
game. And if I
Yeah.
press the space bar, my little spaceship will fly up. And then if I press the A and D keys, I can rotate my ship. As long as I land on this starting platform, it's fine. Nothing bad happens. But if I crash into a wall,
Wow.
oh no, my little spaceship blows up. And if I fly off the map, I'll also die. So I can't go over there. And the idea is that you want to get to the landing pad on the other side. So it's been a while since I played this. Let's see how bad
Good.
I've become at my own
Good.
game.
Good. Suffer like how everyone else suffered.
And so yeah, so this was just kind of like a pretty early on
Yeah.
project that they showed us how to make,
Yeah.
which included like, oh, here's how you do animation. So now you can see I've got this asteroid that's oh, I crashed.
Dr. Pepper
This
says,
asteroid
"Yeah,
that's
yes, this is something I could rage too." LOL. Yeah.
yeah. Wait till you see
Ah!
the
Oh,
the
yeah, just
final
wait.
level.
Just
I'll try
wait.
to get there. Oh yeah, I included cheat codes in here that I could use. I'm gonna try not to cheat,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Oh
if
God.
if it takes too long for me to get there,
Yeah.
um, not too far. Okay, here we
Come
go.
on, Michael. What are you, pussy? Come on, do faster, faster.
Ah,
Oh, I was joking.
I was doing fine until you started heckling me.
What? Were you trying to go through that little space right there?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
I'm pretty sure you can get through there. Oh
Ah!
God,
Ah!
this is hard. Who programmed this game? What an asshole.
Suffer, just like how we suffered. Yeah, go, 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 go.
Okay, now we just gotta cruise on down through here.
Dr. Pepper says that's cool adding cheats in your own game and knowing you put them there or like little Easter eggs. Oh my gosh, you actually made it through there.
Oh
Holy cow.
yeah,
Good job. Damn.
yeah. The two I don't remember which keys they're on. Oh, here's the final level. Ah, fuck.
Oh, there you
So the
go.
final level is a real fucker because it starts you upside down and you have to
Yeah,
like in real time spin the
adjust.
ship a full 180 and boost to get yourself out of there. I just realized that I actually started the game in the middle, like on level 3. Oh, I'm gonna crash. Oh, didn't hit that box. That box collider.
Yeah.
Um, so we're actually getting to the end faster.
Oh, right, because level 1 was super easy, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was a
come
little
on.
surprised.
Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Oh, nice. Nice. Good job. Good job. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Oh, oh, patience, patience. Nice. Holy cow, you're really good at this.
Thanks, man. I mean, I did make the game.
Oh, good
I hope
job.
I'm good at it. Okay, yeah, here's the first level, which
Oh
was
yeah, there you
intentionally
go.
made to be very simple and just give you an opportunity to figure out like, oh yeah, okay, I just got to fly the ship over there. Like,
Yep,
okay, this isn't too
yep,
bad.
yeah,
And then the next level is like, hey, your first obstacle that's kind of like in the way, you could actually crash into this thing. Well,
yep.
I gotta like try to crash into it. Like, oh
Ooh,
no. So now there's a thing in my way. And then just to kind of like make the levels a little bit more difficult as they go. But because I had originally made this with the intent that I would not, that it was just to do the course and I was never going to come back to it, the
yeah,
final level, I kind of threw in a whole bunch of stuff where I was like, I'm going to make this really hard because I'm
yeah.
never going to make any more levels. So, whoops. But yeah, anyway. And actually, let's see, is it C that will turn off the collisions? Yeah.
Oh,
So now I
nice.
can cheat by not crashing.
Cheat, cheat. Good, good. Whoa. Whoop.
Oh
Oh
no.
wait,
Wait a
wait.
minute.
You gotta.
There we go.
Oh, there
I
you
got to
go.
turn
Yeah,
the collisions back
yeah.
on for it to detect that
Ah,
you've landed on the thing.
sure, sure, sure.
Anyway, now we're back to where we started. So
Yep.
that's the little spaceship game that I made.
Dr. Pepper says the masters of the game are the ones that created it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of a cool thing when you're like, I made the game, so I'm gonna
yeah,
program into it whatever I want.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, man. Yeah. So I'm thinking like,
Sure.
man, maybe we should have started working on that type of game first. That's just, obstacle course. So
Yeah,
so
that would have been much smarter.
maybe for our next game, that's
Hmm.
that's just an idea. We could do another version.
Yeah,
We could take everything that we made for our rail shooter and then just put it in that different version,
totally.
right? Let's just
Because
recycle
that would
everything.
be um a really appropriate like mobile game because that's something that we've talked about. Next up is like a lot of interest in like
Mm,
what's the mobile market like what might we make in that space. So yeah,
right,
maybe we
right.
take this sort of like rail shooter IP that we're developing and we just
Yeah.
do a mobile version of it, and maybe it's kind of like that, but maybe you can shoot too or something.
Yeah.
um
Dr. Pepper says a side scroller version.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So that's kind of that's cool.
Yeah, there's some interesting ideas there. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
hadn't really
basic
thought about all that until we brought
yeah,
this up, but
it's basically our ship just flying sideways and going up and down shooting at enemies, just like so
yeah,
maybe kind of like a Contra version of our game.
yeah, yeah, that's really interesting.
I remember
Food for
playing
thought.
this. Yeah, I remember this side scroller space flying game. It's called Star Gunner. That was a lot of fun. It
I don't
ran.
think I
Oh,
played that.
that was the game that I tried to play on. It was a super old like Windows 95 or something like that game, and then I tried to play on the newer system, and then all of a sudden it like sped up super quickly because of
Oh,
how they
yeah, yeah,
programmed it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to play that old version of Star Gunner. It's basically a side scroller of the planes going up and down and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea, Dr. Pepper. A side scroller version. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a lot easier than this 3D one that we're making.
Yes, yes, but it'll be good. It'll be good. We'll climb Mount Everest first, and then we'll do a little hike later.
And then climb the hill out in the backyard.
Yep, yep, exactly, exactly. Man, this is cool. Thank you so much, Dr. Pepper. These are really good, insightful questions. That's actually getting our creative juices flowing.
Yeah,
That's great,
thanks for
man.
being here.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's we can essentially wrap up now. Unless anyone else has any questions. But yeah, thank you again so much, Dr. Pepper, for being so carrying great conversation, asking great questions. But I want to what do I want to do? Do we want to? Oh, he says that's it from me. I'll have more next question next stream. Probably keep up the great work, you guys. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Pepper. Really, really appreciate you being here, man. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but trust me, having you here makes it freaking awesome and amazing. Um,
Yeah.
let me see. I think that's also it for me. I mean, besides the please follow us at at you can find me at twitch.tv at slash lead design studio, and you can find Michael same in the thing he also has a Twitch channel too. Um, I also I guess we're gonna have to pitch ourselves on this channel individually because I'm not on
Mm,
my channel anymore.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if you guys are watching, if you guys like art and design, I do a lot of art sketching and art tutorials on the Twitch on my Lead Design Studio channel. So if you're interested in that, please go and check it out. Sign up there and give me a follow. And Michael, where can they find you?
Yep, you can see my twitch.tv/mlwelker. I'm not quite set up yet, but I'm getting very close. I'm planning to start streaming independent of the Creative Tavern. At some point, I'll probably be covering topics like writing. The very first thing I'm probably going to do is probably going to be a book club, where we'll like pick a book and read through it. The very first book's probably going to be Jurassic Park because that book has a very special significance to me.
Mm,
But I also may explore doing things like actual writing and storytelling. Talk a lot about my book, Blockbuster Blueprint. Maybe even some coding, video game appreciation, that sort of thing. I don't know. It might be a menagerie of things that I'm kind of interested in. Um, So yeah, you can find me there if you're interested in storytelling stuff. Chris has got my book on screen, Blockbuster Blueprint. You can get that on Amazon. Paperback and Kindle versions are available. And otherwise, uh, you can also find me and Chris here every Wednesday and Sunday
Mhm.
at the same time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we're going to continue making this game for the foreseeable future. But also, we're going to keep meeting and talking about creative stuff and creative projects and the creative
Yeah.
process and what it's like to do creative stuff and have creative adventures. So, if that sounds good, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, see you guys soon. Thank you again so much, Dr. Pepper, and those you guys are watching for joining us. Having you on our journey makes a huge, huge difference. So I hope to see you guys on next session, which is going to be a Wednesday, 7 o'clock PST. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, and then I'm going to switch to this scene. Yeah, this is cool. Thank you guys again so much.
So long, everybody.
Bye bye. Yay.
Cool.
And cool. Let me go ahead and stop streaming. All right. Bye, guys. See ya.